5, 4, 3.
Good evening. This is the select board meeting of February 27th at 6 p.m. I'm the chair, Diana Lipari. Seeing that we have a quorum, I'm going to first call the meeting to order and ask for those here to say present when I call your name. Les Fox?
Present.
John Markowitz?
Present.
Wes Folks? I don't think Wes is here yet, but we'll call on him when he comes. And I'm Diana Lipari and I'm present. Okay, so let me get to announcements. The Public Celebrations and Ceremonies Committee and the Personnel Board are looking for members. If you are interested, you may find the resident interest form under the quick links on our home webpage of www.boxborough-ma.gov. New career opportunity, full-time town treasurer / tax collector. See the front page of the town's website for more information. Come see Boxborough's treasures Sunday, March 12th. The Boxborough Museum at 575 Middle Road be open from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday, March 12th. Come see Boxborough's historic treasures, including the 1850s scale, which is sensitive enough to weigh a penny and strong enough to calibrate a 50-pound weight. The new hearse built in 1881, that's the new one, and the old hearse, come and see how old it is. So they're not going to tell us unless you go. Admission is free and all are welcome. For more information, or if anyone wishes to arrange a private tour for a small group at a different time, please call John Fallon at 978-264-0069. Come celebrate the Boxborough Bill at the library on March 10th between 5:30 and 6:30. To RSVP for the event or to find out more information, go to www.energizeboxborough.org. If you have a concern about an item that is not listed on the agenda, please raise it during community concerns. If you have a question or comment about an item that is on the agenda, you will be recognized after the board members have had an opportunity to get their questions. Due to time constraints, the board may not be able to accommodate comments from all residents on all topics. Please wait to be recognized by the chair before addressing the board. This is a forum for public input, questions, and criticism. However, we ask that all participants be respectful and civil. If a community member displays behavior repeatedly that is inappropriate or who does not respect the chair's right per Massachusetts general law to ask someone to stop speaking at any point, they will be muted for this meeting, and I may not call on them in the future. We thank you for your understanding. So I see Wes Folks has entered. Can you say present, Wes, for the agenda?
Present.
Thank you. So now we move on to the approval of the minutes, and I'm going to make a motion. I move to approve the regular session minutes from 2/4/23 and 2/13/23 as presented. Do I have a second? Okay. Is there any discussion, amendments, concerns?
Not an amendment, but I'm going to abstain on the minutes of 2/4 since I had to drop out of that meeting early, but I lost my audio. So I could tell you that I think they're in proper form, but I can't really vouch for the content. So I will leave that to you folks.
Okay, so let's take a vote first on the minutes from 2/4/23. That's the one that you're going to abstain on, correct, Les?
Correct.
Okay. So Les.
Abstain.
John.
Markowitz approve, or aye.
Wes.
Aye.
And Lipari, aye. Now for the minutes of 2/13/23. Les.
Aye.
John.
Markowitz aye.
Wes.
Aye.
And Lipari, aye. Community concerns. Do we have any community concerns? Okay, seeing no hands raised, I'm going to move on to new business. This is a discussion and possible vote regarding the City Citizens Academy. Rajan, are you on the call? He doesn't seem to be on here yet. So why don't I pass over that for the moment and move on to the second item, which is the action regarding the memorandum of understanding between the Conservation Commission and the Agricultural Commission. Becky? Becky's not here. Mike, did you want to talk about it?
So Diana, I had a question before we start the discussion. Because this memorandum was drafted by my wife, Elizabeth, I'm wondering if I need to abstain from the vote.
I would think so, probably. Yeah. Well, we still have a quorum able to vote on it.
Yep.
Mike, did you want to talk about it?
Sure. So this is a memorandum of agreement between the Conservation Commission and the Agricultural Commission, and it pertains to the land that was acquired at 95 and 105 Sergeant Road. And the reason this memorandum is in front of you is that part of the agreement was that this property was to be held in conservation restriction by the Sudbury Valley trustees. And the condition of this, restriction is that a memorandum of agreement be made between the Conservation Commission of the town of Boxborough and the Agricultural Commission of the town of Boxborough, which clearly delineates the respective responsibility of the commissions in exercising and reserved rights and responding to potential violations of the conservation restriction. So this was part of the agreement that the town made in getting this property, that these two organizations of the town government would come on to an agreement. So the chair of both the Concom and the Agricultural Commission met with the town clerk and myself after they had hammered out this memorandum of agreement. We went through it. It seemed acceptable to both myself and the town clerk. It has been, it had a look by legal, and now it appears in front of you. It has been signed by both chairs, and now it's for your review and signature. Diana, you're on mute.
Why don't I make a motion first and have it seconded, and then we can discuss this. I move to accept the memorandum of understanding between the Conservation Commission and the Agricultural Commission regarding the monitoring and management of the 95/105 Sergeant Road property. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I have a question. I do not remember the details of the agreement that was hammered out with a lot of work on both sides, including the Sudbury Valley trustees. This land is not in conservation per se, right? It does not fall under Article 97 restrictions or the typical things that would apply to conservation land in the town of Boxborough, I think. This is just an agreement between the CONSCOM because it does have certain elements of conservation value that are going to be protected by them, as well as agricultural interests being protected by the AgCom. Does anyone know whether what I just said is true or not? I mean, in other words, is this treated like ordinary conservation land as far as permitted uses, or is it subject to the details of what are in the actual restriction? For a similar case would apply to the Steel Farm. There's a conservation restriction on Steel Farm that is different than conservation per se, but I'm just wondering whether anybody knows the answer to my question.
I don't. Do you, Mike?
Oh,
Not specifically. It is cited here in the first paragraph of the memorandum that it's under Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8C, but I'm not sure if that specifically answers your question, Les.
No, I don't know that chapter to answer your question to my question. So we'd have to look it up.
So Les, I'm not going to discuss the memorandum, but my understanding is that the conservation restrictions are something that was agreed to with Sudbury Valley.
Right. I'm sure that's the case. I'm just wondering whether you know whether it makes the land effectively a piece of Boxborough conservation land that would be the case if the land were acquired by the CONSCOM and under Article 97 or not. I think it's different. I think it's probably has more latitude for what we would like to permit there, but you'd have to look at the actual agreement itself for restriction to see. It's not a big deal. I'm just asking whether anyone knows the detail.
Yeah, I know that part of the agreement was to be able to continue the forestry of the property.
Right.
And that's where AgCom came in, and that's part of the reason.
Right.
That's one of the other things that I know that happened.
I saw that, yeah. I don't know whether there's actually any other land in town under Conscom that has a forestry management plan. That may be one of the things that makes it different.
Mm.
It's a good thing.
But there is I think Sudbury Valley was also involved in some of George Cruzen's land.
Probably, yeah.
And because they had a sign up from Sudbury Valley, and they participated in that. There was a purchase that took place there, but I do believe that they still allow George to do some forestry.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Just a curiosity more than anything else.
Yep.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this? Well, then let's take a vote. Les?
Fox eye.
John?
Abstain.
Oh, that's right. Wes?
Fox eye.
And Lepari, aye. So that has passed. Is Rajan here yet? I don't see him. I don't
He's
think.
not, but if you want, I can start talking a little bit about, oh, here he is. And I may chime in a little bit, but he's got most of the information for you on this.
Okay, then let's go back up to the Citizens Academy. Rajan?
Okay, so I put together a brief presentation on Citizens Academy. I'm about to share my screen now. So, tonight, this evening, I'm just going to talk and just give a quick overview of Citizens Academy. Just give everybody an update of what the program's for, what the overview and the goals are, and how this is going to help implement and also be able to provide some community outreach, as well as create a pipeline for residents to get involved in local government, as well as learn more about what the town staff and the team here at Boxborough does as well. So the overview of Citizens Academy is, I hit on these 5 points. So it's a response to increasing community engagement. The goal is to encourage new volunteers in town, as well as reaching out to members of the community who may not be engaged in what's going on, or may just come just to town meeting, but also really just give them opportunity to learn more about what's going on to the town, speak with the department heads, get hands-on experience, talking with the department heads, learn about each one of the different roles and responsibilities each department does. The goal is for this to be a 10-week program, and it typically ranges from 1.5 to 2 hours long. And the timeline we're looking at for implementing is September. So it's going to be from September and then end around December. Most of the municipal departments participate. Once I get finished with my presentation, I'm going to show you a quick flyer I made just of a potential schedule we can use for the fall. And typically for a group like this, we want participants of up to 25 to 35 residents. And one of the criteria for this program is they have to be a Boxborough resident to be able to participate. One thing I've noticed in the past when we've implemented the program is that we've had actual members of the town staff who are residents be a part of the program as well. And as a part of like closing out this program, we typically will host a graduation where the participants who participated in the program have an opportunity to come to a select board meeting, share some of their experience, share what they've learned from each one of the different departments and programs, give some highlights of what they've learned. And we'll have typically a gift, and we'll do like a certificate acknowledging them of participating in Citizens Academy. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to stop me at any time. So for promotion of the program, we have a few different channels we can use. We can use the town website social media networks. Also create flyers and handouts, posting in a lot of our municipal buildings as well as the school department. We'll also plan on having a table at Pfeiffer's Day to get the word out, to reach out and advertise during the summer. Summer is typically the main time where we advertise, late spring or early summer. And then once we generate enough interest, we roll out the program in September. So, and typically for programs like this, I've noticed we've had wait lists of people who want to participate once we reach that cap. And also working getting this out to the Boxborough Bee and the Buzz, various community groups, plan on reaching out to the school department, the Parent Teachers Association, to be able to get them involved, get them informed. I know one of the things we talked about is potentially like school students participating. So that's one thing we plan on looking into, to seeing about having students being a part of this program as well. And then this is just an example of like a program announcement that we could use to get the word out. A quick flyer. The main thing I wanted to highlight here is just some of the topics that are included in here. So people have the opportunity to learn about fire emergency services, town meeting, the elections, public works, police, human services, which is council on aging, veterans, as well as community services, town finances with the finance team, as well as learn about the library. And this is just a quick blurb I've used in the past when I've advertised Citizens Academy. And just some examples of things to pull people in, you know, what would the fleet vehicle, have you ever wondered what the fleet vehicle looks like at the police station, what gets carried on a fire truck, how the town sets its fiscal year budget, when do you need a building permit, how to apply for a marriage license. These are some of the questions that we've gotten as a part of people coming out to Citizens Academy and learn about some of the different programs. And just some of the overall benefits of Citizens Academy is it just generates interest in people serving on boards and in some of the towns. We've also had a lot of people who served as election workers because of this program. It increases diversity in some of the boards and committees, as well as just new ideas and new faces. And also, it's a favorite activity of town staff who participate. They really enjoy being able to talk about their job and connecting with the residents and being able to essentially show what their department does and teach people about things they may not have known about. And it also demystifies local government. One thing that for people who participate in this program is they've had the opportunity to really learn where their money goes, learn what services the town provides, learn the functions that, you know, local government plays in their daily lives. And they're really, they're a lot of times in awe of things that they didn't know about local government. And it really is kind of an eye opener for them. And also I've noticed that people who've participated in local government, they become vocal supporters of municipal government. And they really appreciate what the staff does. They appreciate what people who work for the town do, and just really understanding where their dollar goes and the services they receive from it. And have time for questions, but before that, I just wanted to share one slide with you of just what a schedule would look like for Citizens Academy. And this is just a quick flyer, but the goal would be for the 2023 Citizens Academy, this is just kind of the draft schedule I came up with. It's all subject to change, but the first week would be an introduction and overview of the town. And for that, actually, we typically would always start off with the select board and the town administrator, just for them to kind of open it up, give people an opportunity to ask questions, help give an overview of the town, what the role of the select board plays in town, what the role of the town administrator as well as the town administrator's office. The following week would be an overview of the town's financials, as well as an opportunity for people to learn about the budget. And then we would go into the following week would be land use, health, community, and economic development, followed by fire. community services and council on aging, town meeting and town clerk. Typically for this type of for this week, we would have a town moderator as well as a town clerk talk about town meeting as well as getting involved in town meeting, and just also with the role of the town clerk, and just they also serve as a history lesson for people in town to learn more about Boxborough, as well as some of the essential services that the town clerk provides for all residents here. Next, we would have the library, as well as for people to learn and take a tour of the library and learn about all the programs that the library offers. Then we have public works, police department, and then we'd cap it off with a select board meeting, which would serve as the graduation. That's typically around early December. So,
Rajan, this sounds like a great program. Are you saying that we have done this in the past?
I've done this in other communities I've worked in. This would be the first type of program that Boxborough will implement. Okay.
So in the other communities that you've done it, after people go through Citizens Academy, does the town keep in touch with those people so that to encourage them to join and participate in government activity or town activities?
Yes, so we actually keep a database of everybody who served as for each class, like for the 2023 class, 2024 class, would keep a record of all the participants, and we would also check and see how they became an elected official, how they joined a board and committee. It's a good way to keep track of the progress of who all is a part of the program, as well as how they've gotten involved after the program's finished.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think it's great. Thanks for taking the initiative on this.
No problem.
Les?
Thank you.
You're muted, Les.
There we go. Rajan, that's a great idea. And I think there's a really effort well worth making if it can help engage people in what town meeting and town government is all about, and get more people to engage through the volunteer organizations that we have, the committees. My only suggestion here is that it's very focused on, I call the departmental operations view of the town. Let's make sure that somebody communicates to the students. What are the typical things that the boards do in town that they might want to know more about? I don't know. Have you thought about having the various committees in town, prepare like a 1-paragraph blurb of what that committee is all about, in case they'd like to find out more? But I think it's a great idea, and thanks for pushing it.
Yeah. And one thing, you can go, Diana.
No, go ahead, Rajan.
Yeah, I would say one thing we've done is we've had, as a part of it, we give the people or participants a vacancy list of the boards and committees that are in town, as well as just an opportunity for one thing we could add in or do as well as have an opportunity for some of the committees to do presentations to the residents there, to make a pitch, to get them involved in some of the boards and committees in town. That could be in one of the sessions that during this program. That could be something we can include. What I did is just, this is an example of what I've done in the past, but all of this is subject to change.
Yeah. Well, it's a jam-packed schedule, so I don't know how much more you could squeeze in, but great idea. We keep talking about how to get people involved in the town, and this is a good effort to put forward, I think.
Mike?
Thank you. Rajan, thank you for putting this together. This came up innocently recently at a staff meeting where Kelly from our office asked Rajan and I, how do you get people interested in participating and engaged in what we do? And then also her follow-on question was, how do they learn about it? And Rajan and I both eagerly answered the question because we've both participated in Citizens Academy in the communities we came from. Rajan actually developed as well as ran the Citizens Academy in Lexington. I participated but did not run the program in Foxborough. And we both agree it is a wonderful program. It teaches people about local government, how the gears turn, what makes the organization grow and prosper and work day to day. And so after learning, that was the first I knew that Rajan had actually organized and run one of these programs. So I asked him on the spot, would you be willing to look into running one for Boxborough sometime in the near future? And here we are. All of a sudden, he's got a program and a schedule, and he's ready to roll it out. And I'm so excited he's jumped on this. This is a tremendous program for the community. In the community where I participated, I did it as an assistant town manager and human resources director. So I participated from that angle kind of on the first day that it opened. And most of the departments work for or with a board, a committee, or a commission. And in the program we ran, as each of the different department heads or directors came in, they came in with a chair of their supporting or reporting committee, board, or commission, if people were available, at those times. And as you can see, this was run in the evening. And that kind of, as well as an operational perspective from the department heads and directors that are involved in it, there was also an opportunity for some of the board, commission, and committee chairs to give insight. And I guess this is to Les's question, a little bit of insight into how the volunteer and elected side of the town works. And I've seen this program, as Rajan has, be very successful in educating residents of the community, as well as getting them engaged. And we did the same thing. We kept a database of the people that participated, but more often than not, we found that people who learned about and knew a little bit of the inner workings of local government, they stepped up and they stepped up into some of those roles and really got involved and participated. And when they showed up to town meeting, they were more informed. They knew how they could best be involved in the process. So again, I'm really excited about this, seeing this start in the fall, and I'm glad that all of you are excited. And again, Rajan, thank you for organizing this on such a quick manner and such an organized fashion.
Thanks, Mike. John?
Yeah, Rajan, again, thanks. This is a great idea. And also tying into some of the things that have been said, getting the students involved would be fantastic. And I know that the students at Blanchard, every year the sixth graders have to write. They don't have to, okay? But there's a competition that's put together where students can write an essay based on a topic presented by the BCT, and the students then receive awards. I don't think there's any money involved. I think it's more of just a recognition. And but what I noticed in talking with the students in sixth grade, their interest in things in the town relate to diversity, sustainability, and conservation. So I think having something there a lot that pulls those activities in and what the town is doing, getting the parents in. If you get the students interested in these items, then they will then engage their parents to say, Mom and Dad, if you really want to change Boxborough, you need to get involved in these different kinds of committees. And that's just a thought. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Thank you.
so perhaps Rajan and Mike could speak to it, because this was a question I had about the age limit and what we would do for younger students. So perhaps one of you could speak to that. Rajan, maybe?
Yeah. The main thing we probably just have to do is just get permission slips from the parents if they want to participate in this program. Just have them sign off, especially since it being in the evening. Just kind of like how you do with students are a part of, they go on a field trip, just have a permission slip, have them fill it out, and just from that way, and so that the town's covered on our end.
So didn't we talk about limiting it to people 18 and above, and then perhaps doing a different kind of program for younger students? That's the other option.
So One program that I've seen, and I've seen it by a couple of different names, Young Citizens Academy or Student Citizens Academy, aimed at middle and high school students, where they would participate in a similar sort of a program, but it's almost a shadowing where they go in, same sort of a start, where they meet with select board members and administration, and then they hear a little bit in a very brief format about what some of the different departments do, and then they have the opportunity to go for a couple of hours and shadow with that department, whether it be police, fire, building inspections, health, administration, library, and so forth. And then they come back, gather in the select board chambers, and actually have a mock board meeting with the students. And it's a wonderful opportunity. They get to learn, but they also get to do hands-on. So for example, when I was an HR director, I had 3 students who mentored with myself and my assistant. And we went through mock interviews, we did a hiring process, and then we brought back the final candidate that we were presenting to the board of students to then hire. So it was really, and that's just one department's example. So yeah, that's something that we're also interested in doing. One thing that Rajan, I believe, has seen in the Citizens Academy that he presented this evening is normally it's for 18 years old and up, but that certainly could be negotiated differently, but then run a separate academy for students, run, as I described, more of a shadowing, mentoring type of program. And that has another purpose, and that is we're always looking to recruit people into local government. So if we found someone who was interested in accounting or inspections or, in being a, public safety officer or whatever, this would give them a couple hours to actually see what it's like in the workplace, what kind of work those folks do, and then, go back and think on it a little bit before it's even time to think about applying for colleges or going into another sort of a work program.
Les?
Yeah, Rajan, I'm curious. Do you have to invent everything here on your own, or is there sort of a repository of materials you can draw on from, say, MMA or some other civic organization that's kind of has done this and has a template you can follow? I'm just curious whether this is something that we're kind of forging the way on our own. But Mike said he did it in Foxborough. Was that based upon things that were invented from whole cloth in Foxborough, or are there standard approaches that people have been applying to developing these academies?
Yeah, so actually, the main thing is once it actually gets into the academy itself, a lot of it really falls on department heads. Really come up with their own presentations. And what they do is typically after the first academy, they would update it for just each year. So since it's being the first one, a lot of the presentations are going to be new. So they're going to be newly developed presentations. And a lot of it is really going to fall on the department heads putting together a presentation on their departments. I'll work with the department heads and just make sure they get we try to keep it high level and just an overview of each department, what services they provide, who's part of their staff, do high level. And then also, because one thing we try to do is do a presentation, but at the same time, give time for residents to ask questions as well. So it's very high level presentations with a lot of questions afterwards. So I guess for this year, a lot of it will be create new presentations, and that'll be on each department with whatever week they're planning on going, having participants come to either their facility or come into the Grange room. They would do the presentation there, and then afterwards it would be time to ask. It would be an opportunity afterwards to ask questions.
Great.
So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a wonderful opportunity to engage people. We've talked about this in the past. I think going back decades, there seems to have been sort of an undefined process where people sort of figured out how town meeting and town government worked, and people came forward to volunteer at one level or another. but I think times have changed enough, and that needs some help in sustaining itself going forward, actually outreaching to residents and teaching them about how does town government work and how can you engage it and where are the things that you might get interested in and make a contribution. So that's a great idea. I commend you for it.
Thanks.
So let me just say that this is an overall program because I have already spoken with Mike and Kelly and Rajan about making the ability to volunteer easier on the website, more visible with the a click here if you want to volunteer kind of thing. Because when I went on, as it turned out, I wrote in the select board corner for the Boxborough Bee, I just happened to write my little blurb about volunteering. And this was before I heard about the academy. So the stars are aligning in this area. So it occurred to me when I went online onto the website that it wasn't easy to find information. And there was no, how can I volunteer? That was easily accessible. So we're going to do that. We're also going to reach out to the committees and ask committee chairs to start preparing books for these committees. So this has come up several times where people have suddenly left a committee like the Public Celebrations and Ceremonies Committee, and there's no roadmap for a new committee to take over. So it asks committees to start creating some sort of a book regarding what their duties are and, some information that would be helpful going forward. So this is a general effort to organize the whole volunteering situation so that we have better prepared volunteers and we have more people stepping up. My only question about this now is the age limit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a motion and then we can talk about it. I move to accept the concept of the Citizens Academy and authorize the town administrator's office to proceed with the implementation of the program. Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, so now just a discussion about what we want to do. Do we want to limit it to, we could, for example, say limited to participants 18 and above, unless accompanied by a parent or something like that? Or do we just want to limit it?
I would say 16 and above is fine. Because really, you can be on a board or committee, you just can't be elected if you're not a registered voter. So you can be appointed. You could be 3 and be appointed. You just have to get the appointing authority to put you on it.
Yeah, no, because we've had some younger people actually on the diversity committee. We had a high school student.
So do we want to say 16 and above?
Sure.
I don't know if you even need to limit it, but the other side of that is putting an age limit on it would encourage some younger participants.
So not say anything one way or the other and see who signs up?
Well, if we say 15 and up or something like that, right? Because 16, they can drive themselves around or get dropped off. Right. And if it's just for 2 hours, Right. But I feel like if you say either 14 or 15 and above, that's a decent activity for a parent and a kid to do together or what have you. But I don't know.
Well, don't put any age limit on it.
Why I was saying is if you do put an age limit on it, that may make people realize that you don't have to be old to be interested in town.
Yeah, I think 16 and above makes sense.
Okay, so shall we add that with the implementation of the program, assuming participants are 16 years of age or older? So do I have as amended second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Les.
Fox, aye.
John.
Markowitz, aye.
Wes.
Okay.
And Lepari, aye. Thank you very much, Rajan, for all this work, and we thank you for all the work you're going to do in advance.
Thank you.
Mike, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to make a comment, an overarching comment, that this is one part of a larger scheme that we want to roll out over the next couple of years. And the main theme is on succession planning. And so what we want to do with our boards, committees, commissions, and with our employees is we want to make sure that we're training the next generation. So I'm working on mentoring Rajan. Our department heads should be mentoring someone. Our sergeants, our captains, our EMT firefighters, everybody's mentoring. Our library director is mentoring someone. Chairs should be mentoring a vice chair or a clerk on a committee. This is one part of that. This is a grooming and recruitment campaign, and it's part of what Diana just mentioned, and that is succession binders or some turnover materials. And those materials should be both hard copy and electronic. So the chair of a board or committee or commission, a department head, an employee, they should be building that track record of what they're doing now, so that the people follow them later don't have to break new ground. And Les kind of alluded to this when he talked about, is there a template out there? And there is. When I was involved in the Citizens Academy in Foxborough, while we developed our own departmental materials, we actually started by copying what the town of Randolph was doing. And Rajan, I'm sure, started with at least a skeleton of a program with what he presented you tonight, from what he had earlier created in Lexington. Well, it's the same thing when you have a celebrations committee or a conservation commission or whatever. Each new elected or appointed group shouldn't have to reinvent everything because it's done before. But it should just be done better each time. So if we can build an electronic footprint as well as what I call a bus binder that says, here's what we're doing, and here's how the next people can do it, and then the next folks should improve on it. So Boxborough is always getting better.
Great, thanks, Mike. Susan, did you want to make a comment on this issue? Can you unmute, Susan?
That's fantastic, Mike. I would strongly recommend that you create a wiki so that it's online somewhere so anybody can access that, like from the town perspective. So as a board member, instead of creating binders and paper, throw it up on a wiki on how to run Boxborough Recreation. How do you run town meeting? And then that it's easier to keep that updated than it is 10 binders of 10 people on a board. It just makes more sense. And can I just do a point of order, Diana?
Order?
Oh. Yeah. On the website, it says you guys start at 7. On the agenda, it said you start at 6. And then when I went to the link, it said it started at 5:45. So I'm sure I missed a half hour of what was going on at the Board of Select. So is it typical that you guys move your times around for the Board of Select meetings? And if so, how do I track that to make sure that I can be on time?
It's not typical. We've started moving the meetings to 6 to start earlier.
Okay.
Where does it say 7, Mike?
It says it directly on the Boxborough website.
Is it on the select board page?
When I Google,
I apologize. If it says 7, I did not realize that. We'll get that changed and make sure it's lined up next time.
okay,
The time is not 5:45. I don't know where that came up.
it said 5:45 when I clicked on the link.
So there's, just to clarify the discrepancy, when you click on the agenda through the thing, it does say 5:45. The actual agenda does say 6. And the,
I can send you on the website.
oh, see, and so here, if you go to the calendar, it says 6 o'clock.
Yeah, but that's not where, when I go to town of Boxborough, the Board of Select meetings, no, that's not it.
So,
I'm showing you, you were right. And so here it says 5:45.
No, that's when it was amended. That's when it was amended.
Oh, okay.
that's when it was amended. Yeah. Okay. So no, we're not moving them around, but we have moved in the last few meetings to 6 because we've been going later. And so it's that we all decided we would start at 6. So no, we're not moving them constantly around.
All right. So did I miss the?
No, Diane, Dan, I will
concern?
say that Susan is right. On the main select board page, it does advertise when our regular meetings are. It does say 7 PM, the second and fourth Monday of the month. So that's my mistake. So what we'll do is we'll change that to 6 PM. I apologize for that, Susan.
Great.
No problem. I know you
Well,
guys are working hard.
Well, Sue, thanks for bringing that up because I'm not sure. Have we actually decided we're going to stick with 6 o'clock as the regular time?
Yes, I think we have all of us pretty much accepted 6. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. We've asked several times. So,
So,
Susan,
I-
yes,
so did I miss community concerns?
you did. Because of this, I'll give you the opportunity, although normally we don't go in between events, but go ahead.
Okay.
What, or
So
do you want
I'm
to?
I'm just wondering if there's an update on the chief. Has the investigation finished? Where are we in the status of bringing the chief back, if ever?
Mike, do you want to take this?
Yes. So the investigation by the town hired private investigator is complete. And there will be an executive session in the future. And that's what we know right now at this point.
In the future? Why, like not tonight?
No, not tonight.
Okay, so what is it, because the agenda is so heavy, or what's the issue?
Well, it's just come in, and we need an opportunity to review and make plans, but the word will be put out.
Okay. All right, I appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking me out of order and all that.
Thank you for
And
bringing
I
timing.
apologize for the 7 PM mistake.
Oh, no worries. I appreciate you taking me.
Sure. Thanks so much. Okay, so now we're going to amending the select board charge for the Boxborough Building Committee. Kelly, can you put this up on the screen? Or Rajan? Just the section where we're talking about the amended portion of the charge, unless in the meantime, do you want to explain why we're doing this?
Sure. At the last building committee meeting, which was on Wednesday last, we were talking about the need to kind of evaluate where and under what conditions we would develop new public safety facilities, and the possible need to do an assessment of not only new sites but look at the old sites as well. And one of the members said that they believed that the current charge of the committee prohibited us being the committee from looking at existing buildings because the focus was on new facilities. I don't see that language so clearly in the charge, but the point is well taken. And I thought it would be good to give the board here a chance to perhaps amend or revise the charter to make it very explicit. Let me give you a little history. So what you're looking at here is the current charge that was adopted on 9/12/2022. What's highlighted in yellow were the changes that were made since the previous revision. Membership requirements, it defined the number of minimum of 9 members, the participation of the select board and finance committee, and so on. And it also talks about the requirements for appointment. Now, interestingly enough, I don't know whether, Kelly, you have on your sheet the original 2016 building committee charge. I sent that to you, or Rajan. If you can bring it up, you'll probably do a better job than if I try to find it. There you go. That's it. Adopted 9/16. You see that one? There have been many iterations of a building committee, but the one that started in 2016, then just a little history here, for those who have been following this. There was a request to town meeting in 2015 to do some further site evaluations by what was then the SNAG committee and members of the select board at the time. And that article failed at the town meeting in 2015. As a result of that, the reasons given for that were pretty thoroughly explained by members of the finance committee, and there was a lot of discussion. You can get that discussion, by the way, if you want to go to the warrant proceedings and minutes from those town meetings. But the upshot was that the select board at the time, I was on the board, Vince Amoroso, former selectman, was on the board. And what we felt was the issue was that the committee wasn't properly constituted to really carry forward. It was spread around in terms of responsibility. So we proposed that the new committee, which was still called the Boxborough Building Committee, but we said the new building committee, there was no charge for the previous SNAG committee. It was just an ad hoc committee put together by the select board. We felt that the disconnects that the old building committee operated under would be corrected, hopefully, by having it led by equal representation from the select board and the finance committee. A lot of the disconnect at the 2015 meeting was around whether or not the work had been done according to what was promised and questions about the financing and so forth. So the proposal put forward at that time with a new charter suggested that what we should do and recommended that we put together a new committee represented by the select board, 2 members, and the finance committee, 2 members, with the chair of the committee being a select board member and the vice chair or vice chair being a member of the finance committee. Nothing that has been the case ever since. We did this change back in 2016. But the interesting thing here is that if you notice the charge at the time, if you can read that, it says the committee's work shall include, but not be limited to the following. And the very first thing it says is they should look at the condition of the current buildings and make recommendations. Somehow along the way in the evolving charter, that thought disappeared. It just got dropped somehow. Don't know when it happened exactly, but relative to the discussion we recently had about this, I think it makes sense to restore this as part of the charge, because given all the things that have happened, we do need to keep the option open of looking again at whether there's any potential for reuse or refurbishment or renovation of the current facilities, even though that was highly recommended against with lots of caveats back in 2015. More work could be done there, and to just make it clear that if such work were to carry forward, it would not be in violation or contrary to the charge. So what I'm just suggesting tonight is that we revise the charge to restore this first clause that was in the original charge to the current charge and make it clear to everyone. Whether we actually do that is another question. It would depend on funding and the votes of the building committee and so forth, but at least the charge itself would not stand in the way if the committee wanted to move forward in that way. So that's what this is all about.
The only thing I would add, Les, is as I looked at it again, the last bit of that, the anticipated demands for a period of not less than 20 years, we may want to do something which is a fix for a shorter time period than that, looking forward to perhaps phasing something in, as we've talked about in the building committee. So we might want to take out the 20 years because that's limiting. For example, if we were to do it something a little more less than 20 years, just to
it says not less than 20 years.
Yeah, exactly, of not less than 20 years. So that's why I'm saying 20 years is a long time. We might do a temporary fix, for example, on the police department or the police building as looking towards doing a phased construction down the line just to improve it for a shorter period of time. I think that just might be a little limiting. So I would recommend that we remove the not less than 20 years in the addendum. If we could show where that would go in the current document. And
Yeah,
you may
that's-
agree on this, Les, but I'm just thinking that limits us even more. That doesn't mean that's what we're going to recommend. I'm just saying I want to make this a little more pliable, so we don't come using this again.
That clause is inserted into the current version with change tracking on. I think, Rajan, you probably have that there.
Yeah,
I saw it on your file list when you brought it up earlier.
it's
That
on
was
this-
looking,
So Les, while they're looking for that, I think that the document that I have, unless we have one that's updated, talks about reviewing the condition of existing public safety and DPW facilities. And are you
Yeah.
talking now that it should be expanded to all town facilities?
no, we one of the revisions along the way was that we removed a DPW. So I don't know what version you're looking at, because that change was made after we actually acquired the old Kaizen property and therefore
Right.
took care of the DPW. So that was taken off the plate.
So we should take and DPW for the existing public.
I'm pretty
safety.
sure it's not in here now.
It is.
Right here. Yeah, you're right. I just lifted the clause from the 2016. So
So
yeah,
if we
that could
take
be
out
stricken.
and DPW, so public safety
Yeah.
facilities, and
Right.
just take out the words and DPW. And then again, as I was suggesting, as well as anticipated demands, we could stop there. I'm just looking at flexibility, so we don't have to come back to the board if we recommend something.
So the question though, the question is, I know that there was some discussion actually about changes that we need to make at the DPW garage, okay, in terms of where we store the salt and where we store our fuel. So, I mean, would that be under the charge of the building committee?
I don't think we should do that. No, that's a different enough problem. I think the board needs to think about how they want to tackle that reuse of that site, which has lots of complications and constraints on. I think it's worthy of a separate project on its own right, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right, Les. Okay, thank you.
But yeah, I mean, you could keep it open-ended about, you could just say as well as a current and anticipated future demands and then not even put a time limit on it. I mean, because one argument is that, well, the buildings aren't even suitable for the current demands on the departments, never mind what it's going to be in 10 or 20 years. So keeping it open-ended is good. And the point of putting this back in is we don't want to tie our hands on what we want to be able to look at.
So we just end it as period after demands and take out for a period of not less than 20 years, and we take out the and DPW facilities.
It works for me.
Okay, so could we do that on the screen? So we see exactly what we're voting on? Did you get that, Rajan? Can you modify it on the?
This is the PDF. I can.
Oh, okay. Well, then, with that in mind, let me make a motion here. I move to approve the revisions of the charter of the Boxborough Building Committee as presented and amended.
Second.
Okay. So we're clear that we're voting on review condition of existing public safety facilities in order to assess their present condition and ability to meet current and anticipated needs, taking into consideration all relevant regulatory requirements as well as anticipated demands, period. Any
Right.
further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. Les?
Fox eye.
John? You're muted, John.
Markowitz, aye.
Wes?
Folks,
And Lepari, aye. Thank you very much. So now we're going to move on to the field permit fee waivers for the Acton Boxborough Youth Soccer. And I move to waive the field permit fee for the Acton Boxborough Youth Soccer as presented. And there's a second part to this discussion, but we'll go with this one first. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'm just forgetting what we said we would do last time when this came up again.
We said we would do that, assuming that they would make a timely request, which
Okay,
they appear to have done. Unless
okay.
anybody remembers that as differently from me.
Was there some other condition we thought we needed to have a more all-encompassing schedule of fees and their potential waiver amounts? I don't remember exactly.
So I had been involved in this, and I had sat down with Linda and with Ed Kukala to talk about this.
Yeah,
And we looked at a number of things. One of the simplest proposals that we had come up with is looking at what Acton Boxborough Youth Soccer charges per per participant. So I think we're looking at fees of $150 per participant. And we were talking about proposing, well, if you raise the fee to $160 and give Boxborough $10, we would be fine. And I think after looking through it, I think it looked like it might be too much trouble to do at this point, but it's something that we should be considering going in the future. I think one of the concerns was how much reserve funds Ed actually had to take care of the fields. That's what I remember from the discussion. And then after that, it was moved over to a discussion between the Repcom and the town administrator.
right.
So we never, I thought we had actually voted to allow this to occur. So do you remember, Rajan, because you were involved?
So I thought that we were going to allow them to do it. And the reason why in terms of soccer versus baseball was that soccer, all it required was field mowing, where they do the lining of the fields themselves. They do the field, like the soccer nets, and everything else is provided by ABYS, and all they require is mowing.
That's correct, Wes.
Yeah.
And actually, we have found that the ABYS actually contributes a significant amount of funds to help us with the lining, et cetera. And
If I recall
and
correctly,
that's-
it's roughly around $20,000 to $25,000 a year.
That's correct. That's correct.
So I thought we had decided we would allow the fee waiver. Or am I correct?
Oh, I think so, yeah,
We did have that discussion, provided that they requested early.
right.
Which they have done. So, did I have a second on this motion? I can't remember. Yeah, I think
Yes, you
Wes.
did.
I think
Okay,
so.
John seconded. So, any further discussion? Okay, Les,
Fox eye.
Wes,
Folks,
John,
Markowitz, aye.
and Lepari, aye. Now, the second part of this discussion is whether we want to give the town administrator the authority to waive these fees in the future as opposed to coming for us each time. And I thought we might include not only the soccer, but baseball, but they may be different circumstances. So let's have a discussion about whether we want to even make a motion on this tonight, or we want to see how we go. Can we have some discussion about this? Because you may have a better memory of this. I thought we decided to waive all fees for these entities.
So I think where I come from, Diana, on this is, I think because there were some concerns by Ed, I think it would be worthwhile for Ed and the town administrator to discuss what those concerns are and then bring those forward to the board as a whole.
Okay. Anybody
Yeah,
else?
I just remember that I thought that we still had some concerns whether we really truly understood our costs of maintenance of the fields and whether we were recovering a fair portion of that, not necessarily 100%, through the fee structure that we had established. I do not actually recall where we ended up on that, but I believe we had long and multiple discussions about that over the years.
Yes.
We did. That's what's so hard to sort through. I can't remember where we actually ended up.
Yeah.
I see a question about the base.
Ed and Linda have Linda, before she left, she has a very lengthy file, and that Ed has all that data. So he has a pretty good picture of what the actual costs are to us and what it means for the town.
So I think it seems that we don't want to vote on this particular possibility tonight. We'll let Mike go and have further conversations with Ed and see if we can have a little more clarity so we can come to some idea. Are you all in agreement?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll not make any further motion on this. So Mike, another thing on your plate.
No problem. I'll follow up with it.
Okay, great. So now moving on, this is about, I'm going to make this motion and then we're going to, have Mike talk about this. I move to vote to accept chapter 269 of the Acts of 2022, the one-time COLA adjustment for retirees as presented. Do I have a second on that?
So Diana, I have to recuse myself, I believe, because my wife is one of those retirees.
Oh, okay. So do we have a second just for on the motion? So then we'll have a discussion.
I did.
Okay, great. So Mike, can you explain what this is all about?
Sure. Chapter 269 of the Acts of 2022 is a piece of legislature that that our legislators last year passed, and it's in regards to a one-time increase in cost of living allowance for retirees in each county pension system in the Commonwealth. And what it is the cost of living increase for retirees is 3%, and I believe that's based on the first $16,000 of their salary. And this special act would move to increase that COLA from 3% for 2022 to 5%, so a 2% increase, one time only. To implement this would go to each different county pension system. So in our case, Middlesex County Pension Retirement System. I think there are some, I forget what it is, about 2,500 retirees. Actually, there's more. There's like 6,500 retirees currently getting their pensions from the Middlesex County Retirement System, of which 47 are Boxborough residents. And to implement this, what has to happen is that the county retirement board has to vote in favor of this, which Middlesex County did. And then 2/3 of the municipalities within that county retirement system would have to vote in favor of it. So either the city councils or the select boards within each community would have to vote this. So 2/3 of the municipalities in Middlesex County would now have to vote in favor of this for it to move forward. So the county can't do it on its own, and the town can't do it on its own. So if 2/3 of the municipalities now vote in favor of this, then it affects the entire county. So that's basically what it involves. So a vote in favor of this would be a 2% increase to the COLA for retirees.
So when I first heard about this, there were two things that occurred to me. Number one, this is higher than 5% is higher than what we are giving our employees currently. However, there is the point to be made that those employees are getting steps as well, and retirees don't get steps. So that does go into the mix, and that's something I thought about afterward. The other thing is that even though it's a one-time only, remember that COLAs continue to build on the amounts which are from the prior year. So that extra 2% will be built in for the lifetime. So moving forward, so anything that goes forward will be on top of that 2%. So those are the two things that occurred to me. Les?
I had the same question or concern, Diana. The language is written in the chapter, and the proposal or the motion seems clear enough. But when I looked at that table that was part of it, maybe Rajan could throw that up. I wasn't so sure because, like you, I would assume that if you put it in once, it continues to compound. And so the language doesn't quite comport with the math, and looking at that table made it even more confusing. So maybe someone could explain that, what they mean by one time, and how that actually works. So that's one question, I just for clarification. The other is, what does that mean to our contribution requirements, net down to our town budget, or what we have to contribute? Does anyone know what the rough leverage is given our current contribution rate? And there's some scheme here where it doesn't actually take full effect until 2026, right?
Right.
I don't know how that works exactly. Maybe
Yeah,
someone could explain.
So Les, the table makes it pretty confusing, and the further you went down in the materials for this, the more confusing it got. But what you're looking at on the screen right now are actuarial tables that show how long it would take to pay it down, and it's giving you 4 different options, the 4 right-hand columns, depending when you start paying it down. So the bottom line, I'm not sure which option that the county would take, but these are just options that the actuary presented back to the county. So these aren't going to give you hard facts on where you're going to end up. I think that they're leaning towards the last column, which would mean that the increase in this COLA, these payments would begin in 2026. So it pushes the debt out a little bit further. But the bottom line is that this increase, it means that paying off the pension debt would take a little bit longer. That's the bottom line. No matter which column you pick, it increases the debt a little bit. It takes a little bit longer to pay it off. But again, it would increase it to the 5% for the current, actually for last year. For the fiscal year that we're in right now. So what would happen is if people got this, and I think they give an example here that somebody might get an extra $320 increase for this year if they were a wage earner above above $16,000. What would happen is if this was voted in, they would get that in one lump, towards the end of this fiscal year, and then they wouldn't continue to get that additional in percentage each year. But as Diana pointed out, it does carry on. It does raise that pension amount, and but it's not an extra 2% every year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no. You said the magic word. These are actuarial tables looking at the impact on the future return, and yeah. It's not easy to suss it out without some deep study, but I get it, I think.
But it also says on the bottom that it's based on current assumptions of mortality. It's a terrible thing to talk about, but if people live longer, then the amount can actually be considerably higher. So
yeah, or if the market goes south, their returns will be lower and they'll be raising it. So all bets are off if things don't work out the way they assume. That's always a standard disclaimer, right?
Right. Wes, did you want to speak about this?
Yes, and it's tangential to something else as well. So I went to the school committee meeting where they talked about the budget. So the agreement that was hammered out initially gradually shifted the onus from Acton to Boxborough to kind of step it in to say, hey, take your fair share based on the percentage of kids attending. The current projections put us in the next few years up $2 million in assessment, which will be close to levy limit unless we get more new growth. I'm not against this, but I just like to point that out.
You said will put us up to what? I didn't get the word.
So if I recall the slide correctly, it was like 2.1 million over the next 2 or 3 years, which will be increasing our amount and decreasing Acton's. So
you're saying if this worked out that way, it could actually push us up against our levy limit?
I think we'll be very close.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, the contribution rate you're talking about is based strictly on the rolling enrollment averages, correct?
It was, but also that amount was also shifted. So it first started out, I think it was 10%, then it went 11, 12, 13. I don't know the exact like transfer, but they kind of stepped us in on their own dime for some time for the percentage. Maria might know.
Mhm. Maria, did you want to make a comment about this?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, wow, good. Okay. I'm not sure. This is all based on enrollment, and yes, our enrollment's going up. When we started the new regional agreement in 2015, we were at about 14% of the regional students. We are now up closer to 18%, and within the next number of years, we're going to be at about 20%. So they didn't step us in early. It's on a 3-year rolling average. And it's based on real numbers and real attendance. And so what's happening though is this year it's gone up a good amount. But next year, the 3-year rolling average will be all of the increase in enrollment for the 3 years versus having a lower year and 2 higher years. So next year we'll continue having an increase until the 20%. But there was no the shift initially, what happened with the shift is we saved money in Boxborough, and we actually took some of the burden off of Acton to be able to regionalize. So there's no shift back. It just went back to a purely enrollment assessment on a 3-year rolling average. And within the next number of years, we'll be at 20% of enrollment. And then
how many years, Maria?
It's the next few years. It's like I want to say in the next 3 years or so, if I'm not mistaken from what I saw.
Yeah.
So and then at that point, at some point, Acton's enrollment's going to start to go back up as well. And we'll start to level off. We've already hit our down, and we knew our enrollment was going to hit around this time, because when Mary Brolin and I did this enrollment report in like 2010, neither one of us thought we would still be involved in town government, but here we are. We knew this was going to be, a few years ago was going to be the low point, a couple of years ago, and then we were going to start going up. And now Acton is kind of riding the wave. They're getting to bottom over the next couple of years, and then they'll start going up. So, but this is all based on a 3-year rolling average.
Yeah.
Of attendance, actual attendees, as of October 1st of each year.
You're right. I do remember there was some scheme where we sort of front loaded our benefit to them right at the beginning, and then it faded away.
Right, because it would have cost them money to regionalize, and we saved a significant amount of money in the early years of regionalization.
Yeah.
So it shifted it so that it was more fair to both towns, and we were the ones that needed to regionalize because of the cost of the elementary school.
Yeah.
So Mike.
Yes, I just wanted, this may be obvious to everyone, but I just wanted to point out that the chart you have in front of you, because you can't see the whole page, that is not a Boxborough actuarial chart. That was made by the Middlesex County actuary to the county. So these are numbers for the whole county.
Right.
I just want to make sure everybody was clear on that.
But that gets applied to every town that's in the system, right? Whatever the final answer is.
Right, it'll be applied across the board, but these numbers won't apply to every community. This is
right.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure, especially, you all have seen the whole packet, but I want to make sure the people who are viewing this at home, who may not have seen the packet, understand that this is, attached to a letter that was sent to Middlesex County. So these numbers are not specific to us.
Right.
So this is a difficult one for me. When I initially heard about it, I was not inclined to vote for it. I don't want to, the reason I'm vacillating a little bit is because I understand that retirees are on a somewhat fixed budget and they are not getting steps, and inflation has hit pretty hard. And even though it probably will go down quite a bit, our prices will probably never reach the level they were 2 years ago. So it's kind of a difficult thing. I know it adds a burden to the town. On the other hand, we can't ignore those people that have worked for the town and been part of the system and are now retired and living on these benefits. And so this is difficult. I'd like your point, Wes, was that because we were facing a higher cost for the schools that we may not have the ability to fund this?
No, that's not what I was saying. I was just saying this kind of reminded me of the school committee meeting where they were projecting that our percentage was going to go up. For whatever reason it is, when I believe they presented the numbers, it was roughly $2 million. In the next few years, they expected it to go up. I don't really care, and it's not necessarily like completely related to this, but it's not completely unrelated to this. And I'm not against this, because effectively the town relies on the people who have done the work before, and you kind of reap that benefit. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, this is a difficult one because, you know, we have conflicting interests in many ways, and we have the old and the young, and that tends to be where we are in a lot of issues. Well, so I don't know. Does anyone else want to say anything about this at this point? What are you generally thinking about this? I mean, maybe Mike could tell us what people have done.
Sure, I can tell you from speaking with other town administrators. So the county first called us into a meeting. It's probably been 6 or 7 weeks ago now that the county invited us to this meeting, and some of us went in person. Others of us were participated by Zoom, and I would say there was a fair amount of opposition to this concept. As we learned more, I think more people saw the value in it and were less opposed. But I think it was still a split on where people are. You know, you talk about putting this kind of debt off longer and letting it rise higher. There's naturally going to be opposition, especially while you're in the middle of budget season, trying to figure out how you're going to fund these things. But I think that the longer people have had to digest this and understand it, the more people have realized that it's maybe not a bad thing, and that's myself included. And of the communities that have taken this to their boards to vote so far, the majority that, I would say that the greater majority that I've been in communication with have either approved or believe that their boards are going to approve this, while there are still some others that that have voted this down, and some others that I think that will. But it's I don't know if they'll get 2/3 for it, but from what I'm hearing so far, it looks like the majority are voting in favor of this. This probably doesn't help you with your decision because it's your decision to make, but at least that's what I'm hearing out there.
So, Maria, you had your hand up just before Les. Did you want to say something? Unmute. Can't hear you yet.
Can you hear me?
Now we
can?
can.
Okay.
Yes.
Last year at FinCom, and this is just another piece of data for you as you make this decision. Sachin did a phenomenal presentation to FinCom about the cost of pensions over the next 5 years. That presentation, along with a memo, was sent to Carter and Wes to the select board. I don't know if you guys remember the memo. Mm-hmm. And it indicated that in the next 5 years, pensions are going to be our biggest budget driver above public safety, schools, and everything else. So as you make this decision, just another point of data is to keep in mind that our pensions are growing at a pretty significant rate. And within 5 years, that will be our largest budget driver.
I do remember that memo, Maria, and thank you for bringing it back up to our attention.
And I can see if I can find that PowerPoint from last year and send it back out just so you guys have it, because it was a great amount of information to have. Sachin did a great job.
Les?
Yeah, that's not why I raised my hand, but I would like to see that myself. It's hard to believe that could become the biggest driver in the budget, given that the schools right now are about 50% of the budget or more than 50%. Mm-hmm. So I don't quite get that. But my question was more mundane, maybe. That is, if you go back to the memo that came with this spreadsheet, I thought what it said, I think goes maybe even before this. What I don't understand is if 2/3 of the towns adopt this, maybe it's even the piece here,
Keep
then
going up further.
it will be implemented. So I'm not sure if we don't pass this, but 2/3 of the towns do, I still think we get stuck with the charge, right?
That's
do.
correct.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So here's the question for you. Do you want to vote on this tonight? Do we have to vote on this tonight, Mike? Or
You
do
do
we
not
all
have
want
to
to
vote.
feel-
You
or
do
vote
not
for
have
it?
to vote on it this evening. In fact, there are towns that are voting this in April and May.
How do you feel about passing over a vote on this tonight and maybe getting more information?
Well, I guess I'd ask, what information do you think we could get that would help enlighten us?
Well, perhaps the memo that Maria mentioned might be helpful.
Okay.
Unless you feel, just give me some feedback verbally here. Do you feel that you want to vote on it tonight? Do you feel confident to vote on it tonight?
I mean, I remember the memo, and if I'm also understanding that some of the calculations may or may not have been correct. But that is just my opinion. I'm fine voting it. I mean, I would vote in favor of it, but that's just me.
Okay, how do the rest of you feel? Do you want to take a vote? Okay, well, let's take a vote and we'll see where we end up. Les?
Yeah, I think that we have a gun to our head here. I think about what's fair to retirees. They're caught between a rock and a hard place, just like the town. And so I think that we should accept the surcharge, and not willingly, but regrettably, I think we need to accept it. So I'd vote yes.
John?
Abstain.
Wes?
Folks, I.
Okay, so now it's down to me. Well, I'm going to say Lepari, aye. So the motion passes. So now it's up to the rest of the towns to decide if we get to 2/3, and if we do, then we will be part of the system with a raised amount. There comes a point where
Excuse me, Diana, could we still have that memo sent around, that calculation?
Yes,
I'd like to
I'd
see
like
it.
to see that.
Yeah.
Yes, if Maria would send that around, send it to me
Yeah.
or to Mike so we can pass it out. There comes a point where we have to remember the retirees as well as the children in town. So I think
Yep.
that is an important thing.
Both ends of the spectrum, yeah. It's another reminder that the towns, both Acton and Boxborough, are small entities attached to a very large school system.
Mhm.
Yes, well, it was coming because we're going through the period of the empty nesters right now, just depending upon when most of our housing was built. So this was already predicted last year in the superintendent's memo. So
Yeah.
that's where we're going.
Chair, this, I would be surprised if this does not, pass by over 2/3 in the county, and in most of the counties in the Commonwealth, honestly, just from what I'm hearing.
But it's county by county, is that right, Mike?
Yes, it is. So this county can adopt it and another county might not, but it's the entire county goes together. But
Yeah.
I would be surprised if most of the counties didn't also independently adopt it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the goals. Actually, I'm going to take something out of order because this is pretty quick. It occurred to me, actually, Les called me about the building committee memo, and he asked me if I'd heard anything about the possible extension of the Zoom meeting option which is set to end at the end of March. And I did a little research. I did find something which was an article which I sent to Mike, and this was just this afternoon, that I think it was I forget the exact title, but it was the Public Commission for promoting municipal goals. That isn't the name of it. But anyway, they had actually attempted to lobby for continuing the mandate or the order from the governor until such time as permanent legislation would be put in place. The town of Lexington also adopted a bylaw in their last town meeting that would allow them to go on to Zoom even for their town meetings. And apparently that's held up in the legislature. Right now, the Senate, our Massachusetts Senate, has adopted permanent remote meetings for their use in voting, whereas the House has not. So this issue is sort of hanging. And so what I wanted to do was to send a letter on behalf of the Select Board asking Senator Eldridge and Congressman Cena or Representative Sena to address this issue, to come up with an extension of this voting, this remote meeting option. And I wanted to do it on behalf of the whole select board. Obviously, I can do it as a citizen, but I thought we needed to take a vote if you would authorize me to do that. I want you to keep in mind that we can always do hybrid meetings, but when you do a hybrid meeting and a board member is remote, it has to be for one of the stated reasons on the law that governs hybrid meetings. So you just can't be remote because you choose to be remote. You would have to have either a disability or be out of town or there are 2 or 3 other reasons that govern that. And most towns right now, based on everything I've seen and heard this year and before, are very much interested in maintaining the option of doing all remote meetings or having remote be a part of a normal meeting for whatever reason. So I'm asking the board I move to authorize me to send a letter to our state representatives on behalf of the board, asking them to extend the current option for remote meetings. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Now, the old way, pre-COVID, you could participate remotely. The thing that really changed with the COVID twist is that you could convene with a quorum remotely. You didn't have to have people in the room. So to do the old way, a quorum had to be present in a physical place, call the meeting to order, and then someone could dial in. I like how that phrase dial in persists in the English language, even though no one dials anything anymore, but participate via the internet with a Zoom, for example. So that's what I had done in the past when I was not in town, and we muddled through. It's not as convenient as what we're doing now. So there ought to be a way to, I think, continue with the convenience, but somehow still encourage people to meet in person when possible.
I think for me, it's about the option, because there are some committees that want to be able to do it. And also there are actually 5 exceptions or 5 reasons why you can dial in currently in a hybrid meeting, and use that term again, dial in. One of them is that you're out of town, you're disabled, and I think there are 2 or 3 other reasons, but you couldn't just be in Boxborough and decide you want to participate remotely. So, and it doesn't just, remember, this doesn't just apply to us, it applies to all committees.
Right.
Whatever reason, you might have children at home or whatever. I mean, I personally think this is a great option for a lot of committees who might want to meet, totally remotely, but it's about having the option to do it. That's what I'm really asking.
Yeah, one practical issue I would see with going back to the old way, as it were, or requiring a quorum to be present to convene a meeting, is that we have a lot of meetings these days. So have a physical quorum present means that you're going to be overloading the ability of town hall meeting rooms to sustain all that. We're actually getting more meetings in than we ever did before, and that would seriously cramp our style if we were to not be able to do that. Looking for a vacant room to hold a meeting. Remember how much of a headache that was.
This is just a question of trying to get them to extend this. I think that there will be legislation moving forward that makes hybrid meetings required, or to some degree makes it possible to do remote meetings. But I don't think they're there yet. I haven't seen a lot of discussion on it right now. And I don't think, I mean, after all that, the Senate has decided they're going to do it that way. So why not the average town? All I was suggesting is that and I'm happy to send the letter to the board members. So for your review, I don't know if I can do that, Mike. But if you authorize me to send a letter, I'm happy to send it to you first. So, and comments can go back to Mike, or I can send it to Mike and Mike can send it out to you. But if you authorize me to do that, then I can send it on behalf of the whole select board.
The only thing is, you could certainly do that. You could send it to me and I could send it to the board. But if you want any comments back, then I think we'd have to come back to the meeting, because I couldn't then take the board's comments, give them back to you without making it my own letter.
Right. Okay.
I don't think, like, I trust you, Diana, and just one other point, like, I wouldn't be able to be at the meeting today because Liz has a school committee meeting for like the diversity task force that they started. And right now, like, the kids are upstairs. Otherwise, I'd have to be paying like 25 to 30 an hour for a babysitter if this was in person.
I think these are all valid points in the ability to have these meetings, and bad weather is another one, by the way. So
to Les's point, I believe there's a planning board meeting going on right now. So we'd be trying to do 2 major board meetings right now at the same building at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I remember the bad old days quite well. It was not easy getting rooms scheduled.
Well, there's no doubt, and I sent this link to Mike, and Mike can send it out to you with the link to this article, and the same things come up all the time. It's increased citizen participation. It's increased volunteer participation. It just is. There's really no reason to be going backwards at this point. But, you know, I think our legislature needs to act on our behalf. So do we want to take a vote? Les, do you authorize me to send such a letter?
Or are you going to send the letter to Mike to distribute?
I'm going to send it to, I will send the draft to Mike, and Mike can send it out to you. If you have any further issues with it for any reason, then we would have to come back. I just wanted to do it in a timely fashion. We could always put it on our next meeting, or we could well, I guess we can't really add it to Wednesday at this point. Maybe we can, because we do have an executive session on Wednesday, but I wanted to get it out sooner than later, was my point.
I don't need to review it. I'm fine.
Okay.
That.
If you did want to revisit it Wednesday, we could amend the notice. It's already been sent out, so it could add an amendment to reopen into open session afterwards.
Okay. All right. So, Les, do you want to vote on this motion?
Yeah. Yes, I can vote. I'll vote aye.
Wes?
Okay.
John?
Markowitz, aye.
And Lepari, aye. Okay, thank you very much. So now we're going to move on to goals. Mike?
Okay, so I think it was at your last meeting, or maybe it was the meeting before that. We did have a discussion on goals, and maybe we want to share the screen with the summary of the goals from the board members. But I believe that a couple of you got back to me with thoughts on additional things that you had in mind. Rajan, do you have that? There we go. So Les sent me these additions to the summary of goals that you already have. One of the things that I noticed that you had across the board is you wanted, well, first of all, you all talked about having a small field of goals. In other words, I presented you with, kind of a 3-year salad bar approach to things you could choose from. And you kind of narrowed them down, and you said you really wanted to have maybe 3 or 4 top goals, or whatever, some finite number of goals, so that we actually make sure we have the best chance at getting them done. The ones that rose to the top, it seems, were an ARPA spending plan, as you see in front of you, something to do with water, whether it's an intermunicipal agreement or some sort of water project, water options. You all talked about in some form or another employee well-being, professional development of employees. In one case, it was mentioned about having an IT strategy or a plan to move to the cloud. Another one of the big things was down at the bottom there, communication plan or a communication overall strategy. One thing that came up in discussion the other day was Diana mentioned, and I think it was after Francie had presented to your board as well as the finance committee about sustainability being a goal. And one thought I would have on that is I know from the sustainability committee, they're focused on the environment, the environmental impact of not having a sustainable type of approach and energy savings. But other things that also occurred to me after sustainability came up was that there's an overarching a sense of the word sustainability. In other words, tomorrow night we'll be meeting with the finance committee and we talk about financial sustainability. Is our budget and our, the growth of the our human capital and our resources, is that sustainable? We also talk when we look at earlier in the evening, we talked about succession planning. Do we have a sustainability of our organization? In other words, in our human capital, are we training people to be sustainable into the future with the missions we're trying to accomplish? So anyways, that was another one that came up. And a couple other things, a capital committee, as well as financial policies. Those were things that I introduced to you early on. Back in the fall, the financial policies and capital committee was something that you were already thinking about as a town before I arrived here in November. So anyways, those are some of the things that were presented, and you may have other ideas that have not been vetted, discussed, or developed at this point.
So one thing that I wanted to add is that I hadn't put on the list originally was an emphasis on developing a new town center, the village town center that we've talked about for years and years and years. Given the fact that the EDC currently has a grant, I think this board should be working to support the development of a village town center. So I would like to add that to the group, to the goals. The sustainability goal, Francie did give me some very specific language in terms of, it was kind of, maintaining, and I don't have it in front of me. I know I sent it to Mike, maintaining and keeping sustainability goals in the forefront of the decisions that we make and working towards sustainability, making Boxborough more sustainable in terms of environmental issues over the next few years. And that means that we have to be mindful of that in every decision that we make. Are we contributing to environmental sustainability, or are we not contributing? So that was the general idea. I like the idea of bringing sustainability on all these levels in there, but I don't want to lose the emphasis on environmental sustainability for the climate, because that is a very specific thing. And I think this board hasn't paid a lot of attention to it in the past. So I'd like to emphasize that as well. Do we really need to whittle these down to 2 or 3, or can this be our list, or do we want to prioritize them? Do we want to see the ones that we all agree upon, the top 3 or 4? How would you like to proceed?
So I'll give you my input, and then I'd be interested to hear what others have to say. I don't think it necessarily has to be whittled down to 2 or 3 or 4, but I think the approach that you have here is better than what I started with back in December, which was too long of a list. So I think the list could be, a little larger. But one thing that I feel is important, first of all, the board and the town administrator have to agree on these goals. That's one of the things that's in the town administrator's contract. But one thing that would be important, I think, for me and for the board is to see the board as a whole buy into whichever goals are approved. So instead of it being one or two board members' goals, it should be the entire board's goals. So if sustainability was an important one, or if ARPA spending plan was an important one, I think it should be the entire board and the town administrator getting behind it so that we all get it done.
Okay, do I have any other input on this?
Well, the list looks long because there's a lot of repeats. Maybe if we could sort this into the things that are common to everyone, and a lot of it is, that might be a good place to start with a kernel of things that it seems to have support from everyone, and then see, does it need any further paring down? But I think just getting a sense of where everybody has put down chips on this would be good. You can see it by just glancing through it.
Yeah, Les, I agree that there's a lot of duplication. I made notes as Mike was speaking. And I think looking at the list that Mike had and where I put some of my bullet points, I think we're somewhere around about 9 or 10 items, okay, which seems to be reasonable. A lot of the items are dealing with things that I would say, well, there's kind of a mix between longer term and shorter term.
Yeah.
I think because I think if I look at the issue that we have with water and the IMA, that clearly has a very short time fuse. We look at the ARPA spending, and that has about a 2-year window that we have to take care of. We need to take care of some of that this year. I think one of the things that we don't have here is looking at a plan for town resources and town infrastructure in the future. And that would be a longer term goal. And the reason I bring that up is because as we look at the complexity of how our world is evolving, that will require other resources. I did go through the list again that we had that Mike put together, the huge laundry list. And one of the things that I noted on there, and maybe it's something for a discussion with FinCom or just a general discussion, we always have a debate as to whether or not we're going to need a special or a fall town meeting. I think we should take the debate off the table because we're in an environment where you can't wait a whole year to make decisions. Everything's moving rapidly. If you need to make some decisions with regards to resources, with regards to positions, etc., we should just build in a separate fall town meeting. And if we need it, we have it. If we don't need it, great. But I think trying to wait a year to make a decision for how the town moves forward is just too long. The world does not slow down that much anymore. That's my own opinion.
I agree with you on that. In fact, there was a draft warrant article to sort of instantiate it in the town meeting bylaw, I guess. I thought we had such a frequent practice of having special town meetings whenever we needed them that we don't even need a bylaw to implement that. If it's useful for budget and financial planning, then okay, maybe we need to do that. But
that's my reason.
It's almost become a practice at this point.
I know, but that's my reason, Les, is look, because we always have to debate, can we afford it? It's not in the budget.
Right.
Let's just put it in there.
Yeah, get it off the table, right?
That's
Get the
right.
budget thing off the table. Yeah.
Right.
I agree
Okay.
with that.
So it seems to me that looking at this list, ARPA is definitely, it's short and long, but we do have to make some, changes rather quickly or spend some money quickly. I personally think the IT and potentially moving to the cloud is an important one because that's something that needs to happen right away. The water project is obviously imminent. We need to do something about that. I think we all agree on those, and we all agree on, I think the way Mike put it, sustainability of both the town, and it goes to what you said, John, about looking at how we are doing financially and the long-term planning on that score. I think that also goes to looking at how we use our resources in terms of staffing, because I think town hall has been given a short shrift for a very long time. So things are getting more complicated, and that's included in sustainability. And then we have the overall communication strategy, which goes towards what we've started regarding volunteers and communication and volunteers, and all of that goes under the communication strategy. Then I think policies is a very, very big one. And then over whether we're reviewing them or we're developing them, after all, that is the main charge of the select board, is to plan for policy. And then we have the projects. We have the building committee projects for public safety, and we also have the village town center, which I think is something we can't lose sight of, because those are two very big things that have been on the plate for a very long time. So I think we can actually move these things. I think there were 7 different areas that I just mentioned that we could possibly boil it down to those larger categories, pull them together, and create a list that actually, and we may be able to incorporate pretty much all of these things under those bigger headings, and then create to do, some specific goals under each one. Does that seem reasonable to you?
Yeah, and also, note that a number of these goals tied directly to the Boxborough 2030 master plan.
Correct. Right.
Which we're supposed to be figuring out how to implement.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this down so that it's organized and then create some steps underneath it. The big projects, as Mike said, the 3 things that we have not done and we've been talking about for years is the water issue, the public safety facilities, and the town center. And it's time for us to start as a board paying attention to those specific things. The water has come up and it's really given us a short time frame. And so it's kind of forced our attention to it. But the other 2 projects really do need to be given a little more attention by the board. I'm glad
to see, I think I sense that it's Wes who's been the driving force behind our IT strategic thinking, getting us to the cloud. I think that's great, Wes, that you're pushing on that. And it's got to be top of the list. One of the top ones.
That, and also combined with that is fixing the website. And that goes,
oh my gosh, yes.
part and parcel with communication overall strategy, because there are all those things in there too. John?
Yeah, you're talking about town center. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I just wanted to bring it up because I'm wondering if we can do this or not. Because, trying to create a town center, generally you need something that is going to draw people. Okay, first of all, we have to figure out what land there is and who owns it and what do we do about that. But the other thing is, as I drive around and look around, Boxborough is one of the only communities within our Lori Trahan's district, congressional district, that does not have a post office. Now, I realize that we have had to try and have a post office before, but every little town I drive through when I'm going to meet my tax clients, they have a post office. If somehow we could find a way, and I realize the post office is reducing the number of post offices, but I can't think of any other community that doesn't even have one. And we've grown, we've had more people. A post office near where we now have all the development of the enclave, and having some kind of a post office in town center might actually help to create an environment for a town center. Just something I've been thinking about. I'm not sure how we can approach that. Maybe a letter to our congressman.
Yeah, John, that's a good point. I mean, I'm sure the postmaster had reasons for why they abandoned the old Boxborough post office. Maybe they would revisit that and explain why that is still the case and whether it could be revisited and brought back.
Well, I'm just curious. I mean,
when did they abandon that? Do you remember what year that was?
I think it was in somewhere after 2020, after maybe 2,500. I mean, 2,500. My God, 2005. I think. I'm just taking a guess.
Yeah, I
think
remember.
part of it was the amount of traffic. okay? But, maybe that's gonna change. But, trying to create something that would draw people to go to a location might also then draw businesses to that same location. Just my thought.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wes?
With all due respect, I don't really see in any of the charrettes a post office being one of the primary desirables for a town center. That being said, it's not a terrible idea, but I think that there may be better uses for the limited space we have, because I think we're 60% conservation.
Well, be that as it may, post office or not, I think that we should be talking about that, maybe have a session at some point where we can talk about our ideas for a village town center, bring the EDC and maybe a planning board rep in and have some conversation. I would just like us to sort of start thinking about ways that we can do this. And I appreciate John's thought on this process, because you never know, perhaps there's some way with a post office and a FedEx facility combined or something like that, that might be useful. Anyway, in terms of
you mentioned, or John mentioned, maybe you both mentioned, that the EDC does have a funded project, an activity to hire someone to advise them on this very topic. Are we doing enough to help them in that effort?
Yeah, that's my point. I think we need to have support for the EDC because they've started it, and I know the planning board is involved, and I think it should be part of the conversation. So, moving forward, and just speaking about our goals, these three things that we've been talking about, water, public safety, and town center, have been on there for years. Yeah. So let's kind of bring them to the fore and start doing a punch list of how we get to that goal. I think that would be useful. Could we possibly, Mike, put these into categories like what I was just talking about, and other people, and see where we are together, and just make it easy so we can be really clear on what those goals are?
Absolutely. Now that I see your list, we'll put this into an organized fashion. And as you were talking, I came up with another possible goal bucket, and that is succession planning. And I think that if you get down to the bottom, one of the ones you have on there, volunteer binders, falls right into that. And I think we need to be thinking about, as we talk about, employee well-being, staff development, professional development. I think those are, and volunteers, recruiting volunteers, and what Rajan was guiding us through earlier, which was, a government project with Citizen Academy. I think that is also part of succession planning for the community. So if we, I think we can put a number of those into, whether we want to call it a succession planning or some other thing that can be part of it. But certainly I can organize these in a logical fashion, get rid of the duplicates, and then I think we can come back with a succinct list and a plan that maybe you might be ready to talk about a little bit more at your next meeting and then vote on.
Right.
I agree with you, Mike. And I think we said it earlier, but maybe not. So I'll say it again if we didn't. The whole idea of the Citizens Academy is very much, in my mind, aligned with succession planning. How do we teach people to be good and responsible members of town meeting and figure out how the town works and to step in and take a hand? Very important.
Yep.
It's essential.
John?
We have town meeting form of government. If we don't get that right, it's not good.
Yeah, this is just a small item. Mass DOT is currently in the process of redesigning the 111 bridge over 495. They're in the very early phases. We should make sure that when that gets done, that they've put in pipes that would allow us, if we ever needed to bring water across, that's in there, okay? So that we don't have to go, and also to make sure that there's a pedestrian walkway.
Well, John, I can say that as far as I know, a space for a bikeway and walkway are part of DOT's plans. The idea of putting in pipes or a place for pipes has been floated And they were loath to actually put any effort into that because they weren't certain about the future need. So if we want to get that on Mass DOT's list in terms of the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Plan, we should let them know.
Okay.
I mean, I had Brenton that in the past, and to me, that's just smart future-proofing your plans.
Exactly.
It does cost money to do that, and the question is, well, is it worth it to spend that money now in the absence of certainty? Well, nothing is certain, you know, but it would sure be stupid not to plan for it and then find out you need it.
Right.
It's cheaper to put it in now than later on.
That's right.
John, I'm glad you brought this up because I mentioned the exact same thing to our assessor, Kelly Sosick, and to our planner, Alec Wade, over the last couple of weeks. You know, after we got that letter that they, you know, from the engineer who was doing the design work on that bridge, and I mentioned to them, you know, I hope that there's either going to be, you know, space to put piping through or planned piping, and I was sure that they weren't going to put piping there. But I will, I'll pen a letter and send it to the appropriate authorities, letting them know that we are one of the few communities that doesn't have a public water supply. But while they're designing this bridge, we would like them to at least put consideration into making space should the future need, you know, be accommodated.
Yeah. So, Mike, my understanding is what they're planning, and it's I don't know what stage they're at, but I believe what their plans are is to remove the traffic lights at both sides, on both sides of the bridge, and put in mini rotaries, which they have found allow the flow much better.
I don't know
but the interesting thing. The interesting thing for Boxborough and why it's so important for us to get them listening to our needs is that the construction of that roadway, 111, had to go through a considerable amount of ledge, as you can see as you drive through there. So if the town in the future were ever to want to bring water from that side of town across, we would be held with the burden of removing the ledge. So they may be removing it now. Let's try to have some foresight. That's all.
Okay, well, I think that Mike is going to come back to us with these goals, and so let's not vote on them tonight. If everyone's clear on that, we'll move on to the final item, which is looking at the items of the warrant. So here's my question. How is this complete to the extent that we can vote on all of these articles, or do you want to tackle voting on the warrant tonight, or do we want to spend a meeting doing that in the future? We have to have this, we have to have our votes in by March, I guess by our next meeting.
Which date?
Well, the point is that we have to have this to the printer. I think we have to have it to Kelly so that there is time to organize the warrant in terms of the consent agenda, number the items and so forth. Do you want to start voting on these items tonight? Or how complete is it, Mike? Is the language all complete or all the articles on there? I'm unclear still.
So it's fairly complete. But what we've done is Rajan and Kelly and I sat down and spent a fair amount of time earlier today going through and highlighting the articles that are complete enough that we're comfortable that you can vote them this evening. And I believe that Kelly has highlighted the titles of those articles that we feel you may be ready to vote this evening, and she's highlighted them in green. So there were some that we thought, you know, we could have ready for you by the 13th, which is your next regular meeting. But in the meantime, we felt like you could go ahead and discuss and vote a majority of them this evening.
Okay, so is the board ready to pick this up and tackle it tonight?
Let's see the green.
All right. Article 1. So this is the Sergeant Road Bond Anticipation Note Repayment, $225,000 from free cash. And this is a majority vote. So this is Article 1. It's not necessarily Article 1 as it's going to be in the warrant, correct?
That's correct. So we have, in general, we have not numbered the articles. But there's a very limited number of articles that are going to be in a special town meeting within the annual. So that'll be the first part of the annual town meeting. And there are 4 or 5, and those will be the first ones you see. Kelly, is it possible to, or Rajan, is it possible to blow that up a little bit larger?
Yeah, could I ask, are we voting on, basically, do we support the article subject to, final language scrubbing, they're looking for typos and stuff like that?
Correct.
Typically,
So
we
this
just
is
say
part
we
of the-
move to
this is part of the-
recommend this motion.
This is
Pardon?
part of the this is part of the special town meeting, which is the first part of the meeting. Perhaps you might explain that, Mike, not just for the members, but also for the public, why we have to have a special town meeting within the annual town meeting.
Sure. So generally, a special town meeting is going to be in the fall or sometimes early winter. In this case, there are some things that we need either a decision or funding for before July 1st. So annual town meeting, you're going to vote your budget as well as many other particular articles that will be funded on July 1st into fiscal year 24. But we've arranged the first, I guess it's the first 4 articles that are things that need to be paid for or decisions made before July 1st. And so that's why the paying off the ban for Sergeant Road, the water line extension with the money for that, the IT plan, as well as the payment of prior year invoices. So those are the special within the annual. So again, those could, sometimes that special town meeting could appear in the fall or the early winter. In this case, we didn't have a winter special town meeting, so we're, legally you can do a special town meeting within the annual. So what you'll do is you'll open up your town meeting. The moderator will move to the special town meeting, which will be right in the beginning of the warrant packet, and then you can go through those and then close the special and then move into your annual town meeting, which is where the majority of your articles would be housed.
Yes, we've done this before. I mean, the special within the annual allows you to spend the money immediately.
Correct. Yeah, so the day after the town meeting is completed,
Right.
that money is available instead of having to wait until July 1st.
Right.
Okay, so let's go back to Article 1 of the special town meeting. So you were moving, Wes?
Yeah, I'll move to recommend the Sergeant Road bond anticipation note repayment.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? So let's vote. Les?
Fox eye.
John? You're muted, John.
Markowitz, aye.
Wes?
Folks,
And Lepari, aye. 1 down. Article 2. This is the water line. Oops, gone too far. The water line, go back to Article 2. This is the water line extension consultant fees and services to fund investigation of obtaining Littleton water. So this is $50,000, which Mike, you estimated, but it's not clear. But could that number change?
I don't anticipate it changing between now and town meeting. This is purely just an estimate because we don't know what kind of consulting or other fees will be needed. I anticipate it will probably be less than that is needed, but we won't have a more exact figure on this before town meeting.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve this Article 2.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, as Mike says, this is kind of a extra insurance that as we get closer to actually doing this project, we may discover things that need a little engineering help or consultancy help along the way, even extra legal help. And this would cover those contingencies.
Okay, Les,
Fox eye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
Folks,
and Lepari, aye. To Article 3 of the special town meeting. This is the information technology, email and network files cloud migration. Raise and appropriate 43,800 and 15,000 from free cash. Do I have a motion on this one?
I move to recommend Article 3.
second.
Okay, any discussion?
I forget whether I had, is there another one similar in the main annual town meeting warrant?
I think we pulled it forward from there to here because we need to have this done by January 1st.
Right. So my question was going to be, I thought I had a note here on myself. And that is that this would include putting all of our storage into a cloud service, right? As opposed to running it on site. Services.
Yeah, so this is
everything.
network file storage. No, so I want to separate the two things. So
Okay.
then you have network file storage, which is their shared drives right now that you have to log into the VPN to get into. So
Right.
when you hear them complaining like, gosh darn it, VPN, like I just need to get into this folder or I can't log into this, that's what will be resolved. Not all the systems can become cloud-based, and some of them are already cloud-based.
Yeah.
But this is specifically around email and workspace services, meaning Google Drive, Google like Docs, the Pages, and all of that stuff. Yeah, so that's all of this stuff. And so we're also, as servers start to age off, we're looking at which services can be moved to the cloud and which ones make sense to do so and which ones don't.
Which ones are not suitable? Would that be like the proprietary police databases and that sort of thing, or?
Some of those, yes, some of those are able to be moved, but things like the 911 call server and all that stuff, those are a little bit different, but we were taking them as evaluate a year or two before the servers came up, but this one kind of sprung up a little bit because of some external requirements.
Wes, would this give us a savings from Guardian?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
So there's a few tools in here, such as the e-discovery, which allows records access officers to do searches for emails and not necessarily have to ask Guardian to run a query. I had talked with Mike about creating a policy for the people who have access to do that, along with a few other tools that will save us some, and I think provide a little bit of workplace efficiencies, which is being able to search all documents internally that we have.
Yeah, we definitely need that. One of my pet peeves about the current scheme is that, for example, if you go to our current means of accessing the agenda or anything that is on our web, that's a PDF file presented, you can't search it. You have to download it and then you can search it.
Yeah, I don't know. Did I terribly write that so that we'll provide benefits beyond that of?
I don't know, but I
some...
assume that will happen, and that's a great benefit.
No. So so I'm looking at that paragraph in the middle. Yeah, workspace. Yeah. So no, right above it. Yep, there's a dangling of. Did I not?
I see that.
No. So the end of that paragraph. Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have any further discussion on this? Can we take a vote?
I'd like to just make one comment on this, and this has required a fair amount of research. And Rajan from administration and Wes from the select board and Gary Kushner from the finance committee have put in considerable time and meetings in researching this. And you know, I think we're all indebted to them for that. In the end, they came up with two main systems that looked like we could move to a cloud-based system. And they were the Microsoft 365 and the Google suite. And they're fairly similarly priced, although the Microsoft suite is slightly less. But the efficiencies and the capabilities within the Google, they found to far exceed what is in Microsoft. And interestingly, for folks, for baby boomers like myself, who may have spent a good part of their life on Microsoft products, the Microsoft is not, those products are not going away per se. We have them installed on our computers. We'll have access to them, but we're also going to get, if we move in this direction, that is, we're going to get training on the Google products, which are all very comparable to the Microsoft products, except we've, at least through the research that these three gentlemen have done, seem to have greater capabilities. So I think they've made great recommendations. I've met and spoken with them, and this seems like the direction to move in. So again, thank you for your research in this.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks. It looks really great so far.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
are there any interesting lessons learned from the school's experience with Google, the Google environment? I assume it works well for them.
Well, one lesson learned that I have is that when this team of three went over to meet with the school to see if we could get some help desk support or some other type of, you know, close support, since we're in such close proximity to the school district, is that they weren't all that interested in working with us because they operate on Google and we do not. And it would be much easier to get support if we had similar systems. And that doesn't mean that we have a deal made yet if we move to the same system, but certainly that was an obstruction to getting a deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I've had very limited experience using Google Share Drive to do like a PowerPoint, but it works. You know, what can you say?
I have to say, I've been on Google Workspace for years as a business user, and I find it to be very, very user-friendly. Google is extremely user-friendly. I like Microsoft 365 also, but I think that Google is actually a little easier to deal with. So I'm not surprised by your decision on this.
When I introduced this at the department head meeting last week, there were a couple of folks who were a little tentative because, like myself, they spent most of their life on Microsoft, and they were not opposed, but they did favor the Microsoft. And it was about that time when our library director, Peshan, spoke up and said that she operates on Google and is very comfortable and said that, you know, they're very compatible. And then our planner, Alec, also spoke up in favor of with his experience in use on Google and how easy they are to adapt to. You know, so I think like anything else, it would be a transition. But I think with the training that we would be supplied and with the overlapping, you know, the parallel type of approach to doing this and not taking away the old stuff at the same time they introduce the new stuff, I think we would be in for a smooth transition if we were to move in this direction.
They also have been adding a lot of product over the years. When it started, it was pretty minimal, but they're continuing. And now, of course, the AI version of it is going to be out there as well. So anyway, shall we take a vote? Are we ready to vote on this article?
Sure.
Yep.
Les.
Aye. Fox, aye.
John.
Markowitz, aye.
Wes.
Aye.
And Lepari, aye. And now on to the fourth article from the special town meeting, the payment of prior fiscal year bills. Do we have a motion on this?
I make a motion to recommend.
I don't think this one's highlighted, is it?
No, it's not green.
We didn't highlight it. We'd like to just make sure we don't have any other bills before we, that's when we.
Okay, then we will vote on this one. So make a note that that comes up the next time. So now we're moving on to the regular town meeting. Let's find the green. This is for choosing town officers. I think this is pretty easy. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Article 1 for the regular town meeting.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Les,
Fox eye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
Folks, aye.
and Lepari, aye. Now, Article 2, which is receive reports. I make a motion that we recommend Article 2, which is to receive reports.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
What if we don't? Like, what actually happens? I'm just curious, like, as a,
So Rajan answered that one earlier in our meeting, and he looked it up. There's an old law on the books that says you get fined $50 if you don't do an annual report. So the town could get fined $50.
but so as to receive reports,
Yeah, so if we don't receive.
but
our-
including those in the annual town report. So what if we don't receive them? Like, it's done, but we don't receive them.
Well, you still have to vote to accept it. So we can't publish the 2022 annual town report unless we receive
Well, no, it
those.
says including those published in.
So,
right?
that's right. So those are the reports. Yeah, I agree, Wes, but hey.
I'm
we-
not sure if the meaning of this is to actually
Yeah.
hear presentations or to officially receive the reports of the committees charged with writing the annual town report.
I think it's
Like-
just about receiving them, but it doesn't preclude us from having those reports.
Right.
Maybe
You know
this is
what,
like a John Fallon question where we just say, do we actually still need this, or have we just been doing this because we just copied and pasted the warrant from?
Actually, it's a Dennis question now, and it's up to the moderator what he wants to allow.
There are some very strange little leftover things in MGL. So this is probably one of them that we have to do this in town meeting. So I would recommend we not spend a lot of time on this.
Well, Wes, I think if we decided that we were not going to accept reports, then we would have a lengthy discussion about this article on the town floor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So any further discussion? Okay, Les,
Fox eye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
Hi.
and Lepari.
Aye.
That was a
Well,
hesitant time.
Like, do I abstain? Like,
You're
I
funny,
don't know.
Wes.
And my
Wes,
abstention would be, I don't know
Wes.
what the purpose of this is.
Wes, you could have
No,
said
I agree.
no. You could have said no, and then they'd be wondering, why is there one no?
I don't know what the purpose of it is.
Okay.
I know. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll cite you chapter and verse. So here's Article 3, set salaries and compensation of elected officials. I move to for the select board to recommend Article 3 at the annual town meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so any discussion?
I'm going to vote no.
What? I'm sorry.
I said I'm going to vote no. I still don't see why we need to pay people like $400 for a year. And it gets reported as a
Well-
W-2. So it gets taxed federally and state for this small stipend, which at the end of the day is at most going to get you like 2 dinners out with 2 friends.
There's one
Like-
thing important.
Except
on
for
this
our
one.
town clerk, except for the town
Yeah.
clerk. She gets more than
Well, yeah.
one dinner out of it.
I agree with that. And then you also the constables. So other than the constables and the town clerk, I don't really know why.
I agree with you. The other thing is we have voted not to take our $400 each member per year, and we're not even in the budget. So I think that needs to be removed because our budget reflects an entertainment or a whatever budget,
Well,
not.
Diana, when did we vote not to take the money? Because there was a discussion about whether or not we took the money and whether or not it would be in the budget. And
Last year.
Last year, but
Last
there was
year we
also,
voted.
but I
You're
also
right, we haven't
remember,
voted this year. You're right. I thought,
we have, no, we have not voted because there was a comment made that the the $400 for what would have been the 5 of us, the $2,000 could have paid for a wedding. And I remember that discussion.
A wedding?
And I-
What wedding can you get for
Yeah, really.
$5,000? Wait, what planet are you
Anyway.
living?
Between two
Anyway,
birds and trees, I mean,
And anyway, my point being is that there was an issue as to whether or not if we put the money in the budget, how can the board use it in another manner?
I
That
thought
was
we
part
did
of the
that one
discussion.
time. Didn't we use our
We did it.
deferred
We did it
stipend to
we
pay
did-
for an employee appreciation event?
So
so
Les,
Maria has
you
her
missed,
hand up. So maybe Maria can enlighten
You
us
missed-
on this issue. Maria?
So we had it in the budget under your employee events. We took your 2,500, 2,400. We took that money and put it under events, which Mike has used this year, I think, for the luncheon. There's been a few things you've used it for. You do not have a budgeted salary, but the event line is still in there, right? Like employee event line is still in there. We did not budget salaries this year.
so we voted then to give that money to the employee events.
Right. And we left it in that line item this year.
So I did not.
Because there were,
I did not spend much of their line on this so far this year. I believe there's still some left, and we were going to plan on using that, if it's okay with the board, for the recognition luncheon in the middle of April.
Well,
No,
the town clerk is a special case. The constable is a special case. I don't think we have the authority to take action on the Board of Health or the Planning Board or the library trustees or the moderator. Those are all elected positions, and they
That's
need
correct.
that authority from town meeting.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
so I can make an amendment on town meeting floor and say I motion to set 0 each one except for the town clerk and the constables.
Or for a future, we might see if town meeting just wants to eliminate this whole category, other than the town clerk and the constables.
Okay,
Well,
so
we're
just-
setting it to 0.
So we budgeted everybody but the select board. Everyone voted themselves their budgets, their stipends, and we budgeted everybody except for you guys because we left you in your event line. Okay.
So here's the thing. We can vote to approve this subject to an amendment that we will take, or we can amend it later on. If we want to vote to remove the $400 for us, John is right. We need to have a vote at a prior meeting, at our next meeting. We can hold off on voting this particular warrant article until we do that and make it correct. Maybe that's the best way we deal with this.
Well, I do think we have to do something because it's not, that $400 is not in the budget. So
let's pass on this one until the next meeting. And we put on the agenda, Mike, that we take a vote as to whether or not we accept the $400. And then we can vote this article up or
It's
down.
not in the budget, excuse me, because Maria just said they eliminated that, but they put the equivalent
Right,
amount
but the
in
budget is not
events.
The budget is not written in stone.
No.
So if we choose to accept our stipends, then it just goes back under salary as opposed to the other line. So let's just put this off until the next meeting and move on.
That's
And-
fine. I just also, quick point, I do intend to at town meeting, amend it at town floor to remove all the items except for the constable and the town clerk.
Okay,
Just putting that out there.
no,
okay,
and I understand your logic completely. Okay, Article 4, amend the FY 2024 personnel plan. I move for the board to recommend Article 4, amending the FY 2024 personnel plan.
Second.
Okay, do we have any?
what's in the compensation schedule?
So basically what's in there, Rajan could speak to this in more detail if you need, but basically it's adding a 2.9%
Yep.
COLA into
Yep.
the wage schedule that's already there. It also.
Okay, stop right there. So this is also included.
Right, and it also includes an increase in wages for 2 other positions, and I believe that's dispatchers and What was the other one, Rajan?
Reserve police officer, part-time dispatcher and reserve police officer. Those two positions went through the personnel board to get regraded.
Okay, so I'm just looking at all of this and I'm wondering, does the stipend for the finance director continue, and any other stipends, do they continue automatically?
Yeah, they do. The stipends are for whoever is assigned to them, but those are just they don't get increases typically. The positions that'll get increases are the per diem and intermittent, and then the meeting secretaries.
Okay, but I mean, currently we don't have a finance director, do we?
We do.
We do. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I hate to be ignorant. Does the finance director automatically the person who holds the title of treasurer collector?
It is not. So, currently Jared is the finance director. But that was, we held that stipend as separate. So currently it is attached to him, but it's not necessarily attached to the treasurer collector position. So that we could go without a finance director, or it could be one of our other finance professionals.
I see.
Because Jennifer Barrett was the previous.
Right.
She was the previous person that had the finance director stipend.
Yeah, typically, if you have a finance director, it's going to be either your town accountant or your town finance director, or excuse me, your town treasurer collector. But we've designated it so that it could be either, although currently it's the treasurer collector.
Okay. I just personally, I'd like to pass on this until I had a chance to think about it a little bit more.
Liaison is Liaison. That's why it's underlined. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so we'll pass on this one. We'll go on to the next one. This is the budget. Okay, so I think we need to pass on this until we see it.
It's not green.
Yeah, now this one article, establishment of a fall town meeting amendment of general bylaws. 19,542. That's the cost of a town meeting.
I was surprised as we went through and estimated the cost of it, and I can give you the breakdown. Approximately $1,500 in postage, approximately $1,300 in police detail, just over $1,300 in printing, legal, approximately $7,600 between the preparation for the meeting and to have town council at the meeting itself. And then we didn't have an exact figure on, maybe Kirby can help us on this. But I didn't have the exact figure on what it would cost for Boxborough cable access to cover us for us. But it was about 17,500, and I throw in another 2,000 because I didn't know what cable access was. That's right where we come up with about 19,500. Kirby's got his hand up.
Kirby, I see your hand is raised, so you're going to give us.
Indeed. Good evening, one and all.
Yes.
Just to be clarification, the IMA, LCTV IMA includes one special town meeting in the cost that we provide as far as our services, and one town meeting of 3 nights. So if you go beyond that, or if you by chance, because of COVID, need to meet at the Regency or another location, then that falls outside of us with regards to the venue or any specific equipment that like it was required when we had to meet and had people outside of the parade room. So it's just more of a, keep it in the back of your mind that, your special town meeting is covered and included in the current agreement. If you go beyond that and have multiples like you've had in the past, then
Mhm.
that gets charged on a per event basis.
Okay.
Is the special town meeting a day only, or is that what you're planning for a special one day?
Or is planned
That's the way
for,
it's always been, and so that's how it's been budgeted, ma'am.
Since we're on this topic, this is to create a new bylaw or an amendment to the general bylaw to say there will be a fall town meeting as a regular event, right?
Correct.
I think that's fine. I think putting a budget number in doesn't make any sense, because how can you put that in the general bylaw? You should have the bylaw to establish the existence of a special town meeting in the fall, and then have a budget line item for funding it.
we started working up numbers just because we were asked what would it cost to do the special
Yeah.
town meeting. But I have to tell you, my figures are way off because I figured multiple nights, which it wouldn't be the case for a fall. So the legal price and the detail price would go down. And where Kirby just said the price of cable access is included. If you want to come back to this one, I can give you a better price in about 5 minutes if you want to know what a ballpark is. But if you don't need to know, then you could just vote it.
The question is whether we need that amount in there. I think that's a good point.
Well,
Maria?
yeah.
Maria? Yes, unmute yourself.
Sorry, I know I'm trying. It flashes and it's hard to it doesn't come up quick. So it was FinCom who said at our meeting, I talked to Mike about this. We want to put a number in there because it's not budgeted, right? So that's normally how we do new articles. So if you're going to add a town meeting, you would normally stick, if you're going to hire someone new, you put a number in there that's going to be raised and appropriated, and next year it's going to be added to the budget. That's why we wanted a number in there. So that, because we have to budget it somehow. We can't put it in Article 5 if it doesn't exist. So that's how we've always done every article. So it just is par for the course. 19,000 is a lot of money. Normally we assume town meeting to be 5,000 because I guess we don't think about the legal cost with respect to the 3 nights of having legal there. We've always just said it's 5,000 for the mailing, printing, yada, 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 the in-house stuff.
Right. So I got an updated number for you, and it is $5,900. But you can look at that other price that as if you take out cable access costs, because that's in the MOA, it's about 17,700 for an annual town meeting, and about 5,900 for a special, approximate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I was going to agree with Maria. I was going to modify what I said earlier. Yes, as a first time, we need to fund it somehow. But then if town meeting approves this, then it would become a part of their budget Article 5.
Yep. Makes
Okay,
sense.
so that falls more into line.
And what number did you say you finally came up with, Mike?
5,900.
Yeah, 5,900.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I make a motion to recommend the establishment of a fall town meeting amendment of general bylaws, and to also put in a raise an appropriate $5,900.
Did we need language saying that that is the amount for the first year of it, or does that understood? I mean,
I think that's understood. Because those numbers change in the budget all the time.
they should, yeah.
Okay, so do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Les?
Fox eye.
John?
Markowitz, aye.
Wes?
Okay.
And Lepari, aye. Moving on to, this one is not done yet, obviously. This is not done yet. Okay, the article regarding the fire department addition to staff. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the article on the fire department addition to staff, including benefits.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
That number is pretty firm, is it, Mike?
It was just shy of 50,000, including benefits.
Yeah.
And
Any
that's for a 6 month.
for 6 months? That's for 6 months? So
Yes.
a firefighter costs almost $100,000, including benefits for a year?
That's correct. The benefits are about 25,000.
Mhm.
That seems like it's gone up a lot.
And this is for a half year only then, right?
Seems to
That's
me that
correct.
in the prior years, it was around 35,000. Now, maybe benefits were not included.
That probably didn't include benefits because
Right.
this number was just over 37,000 before we put the benefits in.
Yeah.
Maria?
That I was going to tell, that's exactly what it is. This year, we asked Mike to include the benefits for this position because it understates it by about $50,000. I'm sorry, $25,000 if it's a full-time person, full year.
Yep.
Okay, do we have any discussion on this? Did I have a second on this? I can't remember.
Yes, I second it.
Yeah, okay. Any discussion?
And this is assuming that they wouldn't get hired until halfway into the year, is that right?
That's correct. It's a January 1st hire.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, Les,
Oxeye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
Folks, I,
and Lapari, nay. So I will write the minority report for this. So it's 3-1. Okay, moving on. So this is article upgrading and redesign of the town website. Do we have a motion on this?
I move to recommend upgrading and redesigning the town website.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So how does this fit with the what we've recommended for the IT upgrade in the special town meeting?
This is going
they're
to be,
somewhat, oh, go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead, Wes.
I was going to say they're somewhat complementary.
Okay,
In that they're two separate things, but upgrading a lot of the stuff with the cloud and integrated, there are general plugins for websites that will enable better connections, etc.
okay. I
Wes.
just think we need to be prepared for this discussion.
Wes, I have another question. Is this presuming that we would then use this money to pay Civic Plus to do the upgrades on their platform? My concern is that the right platform to be improving, or is it so off that
I'm
it's
going to be
hopeless?
honest, I have not been too much involved in this one. This has been Rajan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with this one, at this point, if we migrated again, it would be a lot more of a hassle, and we could lose more just switching over to another provider. So what we talked about at this time was just based on kind of how the upgrade went last time, just working hands-on with them as a committee, and really being more involved and engaged with the process, as well as updating content, as well as the physical aesthetics of the town website. So doing a complete overhaul and content upgrade for the town, looking through pages, working with Civic Plus hands-on, letting them know what are the issues, what are the things we need to get fixed, and what are the updates we need to make on the pages, as well as the visual aesthetic. And one thing we plan on doing is taking different aspects of other town websites we've looked at and we really like, and kind of incorporating those into the updated redesign for the town website as well.
Yeah. I just have a number of pet peeves with their platform, and maybe they can fix them by doing some tweaking. I don't know.
Yeah, and if you have any type of issues or any things that you want to see fixed in this upgrade, feel free to email them over to me, and I'll be sure to work with Civic Plus just to make sure that we get those concerns over to them about the website upgrade.
Okay.
Okay, so I move to accept the article regarding the upgrade and redesign of the town's website. Do I have a second?
We did that already.
Oh, we did. I'm sorry. It's getting
I
late.
don't remember.
We did it. You're right. Okay, any further discussion? All right, Les,
Fox eye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
Folks, I,
and Lepari, aye. Next article. Okay, this one is I move to transfer to other post-employment benefits OPEB trust fund $3,000 from free cash. Second,
Second, yep.
any discussion?
This is a much healthier contribution than in past years.
Yes, and the town's actuary recommended this. I think this was part of our audit report.
Yeah. Does this amount put us back on the trajectory of where we should be for future years in terms of contributions? Does anyone know?
It does. So the audit report recommend, actually, this was actually from our actuary. It was a separate audit regarding OPEB. And I believe that they recommended we fund it at 250 to 300,000. And this would put us back on schedule. So last year there was 50,000 was the contribution. I'm not sure what your contributions were during the height of COVID, but I know that many communities scaled back on their funding out of necessity, and it put them behind. And this is an effort to get back on track.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, especially given the fact that we have a fair amount of free cash right now, it's a good time to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great one-time use. And then
Okay.
I would assume that in the future, this would be something that we would, and I guess maybe it's bad to assume, but that this is something that we would fund in the operating budget. But this was a good year to fund it out of free cash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Les,
Well, that's a good point, Mike. This could, in theory, go into the operating budget, I guess, right?
It could, and you know, this is something that you would be making a contribution every year. So I think it's smart to put it in your operating budget. But this year, where your free cash is unusually high, it made a lot of sense to fund it out of free cash.
Right.
Maybe in the future, we have a sort of fixed flat amount in the operating budget. And if we feel wealthy in some particular year, we could have an article to supplement it or something. Don't know. I mean, it's not a bad idea to have an article to call people's attention to the fact this is part of what we need to do.
I think it's important for people to see it.
Yeah, I think so.
okay, Les,
Fox eye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
folks, I,
and Lepari, aye. All right, this is $30,000. I move to raise and appropriate $30,000. The select board recommends approving the assessor cyclical / reevaluation. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Ought to do it.
Yep.
Okay, Les,
Fox eye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
folks, I,
and Lepari, aye. Oops, I'm down. I move to appropriate $13,727,000 from free cash for a survey of Recreation Commission property, Summer Road. I move that the select board recommend this article. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
It's amusingly precise. I guess they already have an estimate for doing the work.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't say 13,800. It does, you know, so.
So we had started with an estimate, I believe, of 10,000 for this, and our estimate was off because what came in was this exact number.
Yeah, well, this is more than, this is surveying and making plans. Sorry, meets and bounds, surveyed plots and all that, right?
Right.
So Mike, the question I have on this one, is the property, has the Conservation Commission and the planning board looked at the property and they're okay with it?
This is the town already owns it. This is the land that was donated to the town on Summer Road.
That we accepted at the last.
Yeah,
time.
we accepted it.
We accepted it last year, but I'm just wondering if any of the other boards have looked at the plans and said that it's fine.
Well, there isn't any plan other than it was done with the intent of providing it to the Recreation Commission for use, and specifically not for conservation. That was the intent of the gifter.
Okay. So, I see. This is just for the survey of the wetlands.
Well, a survey of the land, I think there's actually no survey upon which anyone could design fields and lay it out and so forth, and showing where the swales are, just all that sort of thing.
All right. I guess my only question would be was there a preliminary discussion with, say, Conscom or the planning board? I guess my first focus would be with Conscom to see, is there any issue with the amount of wetlands on the property? That's all.
I don't think so, but I mean, I don't know whether you could add that to the task of doing this survey to delineate if there are any wetland areas that need to be avoided.
I mean, I guess you'd need to spend the money to make that determination.
Well, it says right there, land survey, wetlands flagging, project design and permitting. So they would then have to work with the Conscom to flag the wetlands.
Okay. All right. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready to vote?
I think so.
Yes. Les?
Oh,
Well, okay, so that's Wes, your folks' eye. Les?
Fox Eye.
John?
Markowitz, aye.
And Lepari, aye. Okay, I move that we accept the article regarding MS4 permitting year 5 and raise and appropriate $30,000 for that purpose.
Second.
Any discussion?
I sort of related to the previous discussion. I forget how many years now we've been doing this, and we've warned town meeting every year this is going to be a recurring expense. I'm wondering why we need a special article for this, as opposed to making it part of, I think it would be Ed's budget under DPW. I think they have the lead on handling MS4 permitting. Does anyone know exactly what the deal is?
I don't.
Yes. Oh, Maria's got an answer.
If we unmute her, she'll speak.
Maria, you have your hand raised. Wait a minute, you're not unmuted yet.
I unmuted and then I got muted. So with this, it is every year, but in talking to Ed and Mike, the FinCom took it out of the budget so that if we don't spend the 30,000 every year, it can roll into the next year because it's an article. If it's a budget item, if we spend 20,000 of it, the 10,000 flows back into free cash. The next year we have to do 30,000 again. This way we'll have money left in an article. We'll be able to use it into the following fiscal year and it will just continue to roll. Does that make sense?
I guess so. Do we have any expectation that this amount we need to spend year to year will fluctuate somewhat? Some years higher, some years lower?
Well, that I'll defer to Mike for. I don't know. I didn't get that impression from DPW Ed when he was talking about this, but
okay.
No, I don't have a sense of that either.
What, Les, the only reason I could see where it might switch from year to year is if we were trying to hire, if there's contractors that are involved or consultants that are involved and their availability may not be there, we may not spend all that money in 1 year. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when we first had to do this, except and get into MS4, we warned everyone that this was a sort of unfunded mandate. We had to do it And
Right.
there were going to be all these uncertainties, and
Yep.
it isn't going to go away. I think Ed's been doing a good job on doing what the town needs to do to keep up our end of the unfunded mandate bargain.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's vote. Les,
Fox eye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
Folks, aye.
and Lepari, aye.
And we're not doing that one? Oh, we're not ready for that. Is that right?
It's not green. It's not green.
Not green, not green. No green light.
Okay. I move that the select board recommend the article taking 150,000 from free cash for the Department of for the purchase of a backhoe for the Department of Public Works.
Second.
Discussion?
I'm just curious, Mike, do you know whether Ed will be able to keep or recycle the old backhoe, keep it as a spare, or just sell it as a used piece of equipment?
I think he was talking about at some point trading it in. Currently, the fender wheels are rusted out, especially one side, and they're looking at doing some welding to keep the thing running and safe, and being able to take it on the road.
Yeah.
He's looking at hobbling that along at least until a new one can come along, because it may be a while before we see a new one, even after an order is put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you missed some amazing pictures that he showed at one of our Saturday meetings. It's amazing what he can try to cobble together to make something work.
I know. I'm sure they're doing all they can to keep it patched together. They do a good job on that.
Okay, Les,
Fox eye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
Folks, aye.
and Lepari, aye. So I move that the select board recommend $12,000 from free cash to purchase a leaf vacuum for the Department of Public Works.
Second.
Any discussion? Les,
Fox eye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
Folks, aye.
and Lepari, aye. I move that the select board recommends taking 20,000 from free cash for the Hagerwell permanent chlorine system as proposed by the Department of Public Works.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
One
I'm
question
just-
I had.
I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, at one point, there was some discussion as to whether or not the school had any responsibility for some of this. I don't know if that had been discussed, or if that's just I'm misinformed.
Yeah, it was mentioned at Capitol Saturday. Mike, did we have any resolution on that?
I have not had any conversation to that effect, but this is one where I think it was a high percentage. I want to say 85% of the use is to the school, and I think the costs in the past have been shared with the school. So I will work on getting an answer for that. That's the expectation, though.
I think
Yeah, what I remember for going back to when we first did a sharing of the Hager well with the school when it became part of the region is that there was discussion about the difference between sharing the operating cost of maintaining it with a well versus sharing capital costs for improvements. And that came up around the installation of the new treatment system, which was done about 10 or 12 years ago. And I don't know where we ended up on that, as everybody seems to be in agreement that the regular maintenance cost should be apportioned according to basically the metered water use, I think.
There's an IMA.
Yeah. Is that what it
that we
says, Maria?
signed.
Yeah.
And I believe it does include, the only thing that we need to do is give them fair warning. Because if it's, the last time we did a capital item, and I don't remember what it was for.
It was
since
for the upgrade.
2015,
Yes, that was the surprise. Yes, you're right. I
It was a
remember that.
surprise to them. And
They
then
were
that became an
surprised.
issue for their budget. So
And we were
that's why.
surprised. Yeah, they
Yeah.
were surprised and we were surprised. They were surprised. So, you know,
But I believe that the IMA says they're responsible by usage for
Yeah.
their portion of maintenance and capital items for the water. I mean, it was not just the one, it was both. So I would take a peek at that IMA, but if we know that this is happening, then we need to let them know for their budgeting.
yeah, that was definitely the
That was the
case.
that was the big issue last time.
Yeah,
But
And
there's
this
no
is-
reason they shouldn't pay for this.
yeah, and it alludes to it here. The this has been kind of a chronic issue with the well. From time to time, they get these coliform hits, and they're innocuous, but you have to deal with them. And the thinking has been that the Hager well, the demand fluctuates wildly. High usage during the school season and then low usage during the summer. And so therefore it's not the best way to keep a well happy and healthy with respect to dealing with things like coliform. And we've treated it in the past. And I think it says here that DEP has just said, okay, you guys got to put in a chlorination system. No, we're not going to let you just kind of muddle through. So that's why this is here, I think.
Okay.
I don't think we get a choice. I don't think we get a choice on whether we want to do it.
No, we don't. So Les,
Fox eye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
Folks,
and Lepari, aye. Okay, I move that the select board recommend we take $3,000 from free cash for the tree health survey as proposed by the Department of Public Works.
Second,
Any discussion?
I actually didn't read this summary. Does this mean Ed would have to hire somebody to do this?
Yes, they have to do they should do basically a survey, and whether it's, I think it should be annual. We've had some conversations about perhaps identifying a fund for some of these departments that would go in the budget for a yearly amount that would go into maintenance issues. But right now, this tree survey is required for the trees that fall under the purview of the DPW in the easement. And in order to understand where these trees are, they need to do this tree health survey.
Yeah.
The plan moving forward is for this $3,000 a year to move into the operating budget, but for this year, it's in the capital as an article out of free cash.
Right.
Okay, Les,
Fox eye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
folks,
and Lepari, aye.
just a point of order. Is there any way we can do the rest of these on a consent agenda type of thing where we say, does anybody have any opposition to the highlighted green ones? And then do a motion for all of them?
I think that's a good idea. Very good idea. Let's see where we're at with the next batch.
Well, we can just wait on the ones that somebody wants to discuss, but I think there's a lot of these that we've gone over like several times already.
Yeah, because we did on Capital Saturday. So a lot of these things. Is this the next one?
Yes.
So is there anybody, I think this is a good idea. Is there anyone who has any concerns about this article? So if we could keep a track of these
I can do it.
articles.
We can figure out just which ones, because I imagine that the ones that people want to talk about are going to be slightly lower than the ones that are green. So that's an easy way to I can read through them and then subtract which ones if you want.
No, the only problem was, I gotta go find my, my warrant, because I don't have it in front of me.
Well, we're going to
How
go
many
through
more we
these
have?
ones.
We're gonna go
We
through
have a
them.
lot.
It's just a
Okay.
question of whether we want to discuss them. So from
Okay.
this article, I think this is a good idea, Wes, regarding bulletproof vests. Does anyone want to put a hold on this? Okay, let's move to the next one. Oh, that one's
No,
not,
it's the police vehicle,
that's not
marked
green.
cruiser.
This
Wait,
is the cruiser.
Oh, can you back up a second? It wasn't green.
Right.
This is what I was thinking of when I asked my question earlier was, this is storage, that is data for camera images, right?
That's their own paid storage service.
They're what?
Their own paid storage service. So that's the police department has their own hosted storage service.
Yeah, okay, so this cannot go to our general storage cloud.
Correct. This was.
I mean, it could, but I think it's something to do with like the cameras and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the
It's
next
actually-
one is,
Or if you plan to vote no on any of these,
yeah,
that
if
would be
you're
a reason to hold
planning
it.
to vote, that's a good one. Any questions or?
I
planning-
just had a question. Okay. My only question is, I think the number's higher than what we had at capital or budget, either capital or budget Saturday. Is that because it's a hybrid vehicle?
Yes, it drove the cost up by over $9,000.
Okay.
I have a
Okay.
question about the hybrid vehicle thing here.
Yes,
So I don't understand how hybrid vehicles work when in police use, because a good bit of the time, police are sitting in them idling to keep electronics charged up and keep themselves warm when it's the winter. And I don't know how a hybrid vehicle
So
handles
I
the
have
winter
one.
heating.
I have one and I can tell you. So these hybrids, it's effectively a gas electric. It's not plug-in. It's not anything. What happens is the car monitors the battery. And so it turns on the engine when the battery gets too low or it needs to kick on, or you certainly immediately apply gas. But typically it will cycle off the engine. Like if you come to a stop at a four-way intersection, if you get stuck in traffic, it'll cut just to electricity. And so when it starts to notice the drain to be too large, it then cycles to the gas engine and cycles it enough until it's able to charge the battery sufficiently.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. We have one, but I have never tested it in the winter to see if just sitting idling will actually
Oh, it
turn
does.
the engine enough to make the heater run. I assume it
Oh,
does.
it does.
Okay.
I did that with the ski lessons.
so
They
the
don't
next
tend-
one,
I mean, if you look at the Acton, 50% of at least 50% of their vehicles are hybrid. So I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, no, the hybrids are very good. We have a RAV hybrid, and it's great.
so let's move on to the next article, unless you plan.
Yeah,
anybody
okay.
plans on voting no. Okay. Replacement of fire department command vehicle. Let's go. Keep on going. If somebody wants to hold this, please let us know. 47-0, that's good. Okay. Replacement of PPE equipment.
I think that should be personal protective.
Yes.
Yes.
Update the audio system.
Question on this. Does the select board vote on these because it's the library trustees? I just wasn't sure.
Kelly asked me that question and I couldn't resist researching it. So what I found is that I went back to 2012. The only time the select board has recommended on an article sponsored by the Board of Library Trustees has been when it's been part of a CPC article, typically on a consent agenda. If it's a standalone article for the library, we have not recommended it. We've treated it just like a planning board article.
Okay.
So it would depend on whether this ends up in a consent agenda or not, basically.
It can't be because it's a 5-1, or absent.
Pardon?
Is that an abstention? I don't know how.
That's
that goes.
abstention. That's an abstention.
I'm just saying, is there any chance this would end up in a consent agenda?
We can always vote to recommend them.
I'm sorry, not a consent, yeah. No,
So
we
I-
shouldn't unless, I'm sorry, unless it's part of a CPC consent
Oh.
article, so. We always comment on CPC articles. If it happens
So
to
these-
go right to the library, we've recommended, so it's kind of a mixed bag.
So
So
this,
we'll skip those.
so this and the next two are not, they're all library and they're not CPC.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So if it's not CPC, we don't comment.
The next batch are all CPC.
Okay.
So wait, these are all green. Are we okay with the CPC? We do comment on CPC.
Right. So let's go back.
Yes. So the CPC, this is the first one. Sergeant. Okay. So now this is article. So let me know if you plan on voting no, or you have some questions, you want to pass over it.
I'm sorry, could you back up to the one just before this, Rajal?
Kelly's running it.
Okay.
Okay, okay. Oh, evaluation of futures. Okay, sorry. That's our article then.
Mhm.
Thanks. Mike, we talked a little bit about whether the green community surcharge write-up needs to be tweaked a bit. I didn't read it carefully what it says here.
Can we go back?
And my
Okay,
point
this
was, it should be related to the average amount that a ratepayer will see, not a taxpayer. That's my only point.
And is that $5.04? That's an average or that's an approximate?
It's an
Yeah,
average.
It's an average, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Average residential customer. Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. The point was, it used to talk about the average taxpayer, but that's,
It should be added in $5.04 per year. So that's
Yes.
clear.
per year per ratepayer, basically.
Mhm. Because the first talks about the monthly surcharge and then
Yeah.
just to make it clear.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not voting on that one.
No,
Okay. Wait a minute.
This was
Can we
part
put
of-
This is
Can
a
we put
petition
a-
article.
can we put a hold until I get a chance to read that some more?
this,
Yeah.
which,
The one
The
right in
petition
front of us,
article.
the petition article.
Yeah, so I can start with the other ones though. So we'll go, all motion to recommend the police department bulletproof vests the police department police vehicle marked cruiser, the replacement of the fire department command vehicle, the replacement of personal protective equipment, the Community Preservation Fund CPC report and establish the FY24 reserves, the Community Preservation Fund open space, including Recreation Conservation Trust Fund, the Community Preservation Fund, Community Housing, Regional Housing Services, Community Preservation Fund, Community Housing Boxborough Rental Assistance Program, also known as BRAP, the Community Preservation Fund, Historic Resources, Cemetery Restoration, the evaluation of future uses of the Boxborough Museum, Steel Farm House and Steel Farm Barn, the Community Preservation Fund, Historic Resources, preservation of Steel Farm House, the Green Communities Renewable Energy Trust Fund surcharge.
Second,
Okay. Les,
Fox, aye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
Folks, aye.
and Lapari, aye. Okay, so do we want to continue tonight or do we want to save the rest for?
Well, let's see what's left.
I think that's all of them. The rest of them, I think, are
Except for
planning.
the petitioner article.
There's the petition and
Petition and the article on the, I think the personal compensation that I asked to hold. Right?
right, we passed over those, but there are some additional ones that we can do. So do you want to do the rest of these next, at our next meeting?
I thought he said these weren't going to be ready for today, because
Right.
he wasn't sure about voting on them. That's why we didn't talk about them.
Okay,
Yeah, they weren't green.
No, I think you've gotten all the ones already.
It's part of our plan to move the town to green.
so the ones that we have not discussed or voted on, we will take up on at the March 13th meeting, I believe, which is our next meeting. We've voted through the majority of them, though.
Yep.
So at this point, do we have any board or administrator comments and reports?
The building committee has talked to Context Architecture about, and was subject to the earlier discussion about taking a look at the existing police station to see what are the structural limitations on renovating or reusing that structure. And Rajan will be helping me prepare a proper addendum to the existing contract so they can do that work. They've actually given us a statement of work for that. So the only other thing I would say, and I meant to say this at the last meeting, but it got so busy and was so late, and we're all tired and I didn't get to it. And that is that, in case anyone wondered, I am not taking out papers for a position on the select board. It'll be the first time since 1999 that I have not done that. In case that matters to anyone, there you have it. I think pretty much people know that already, but I just wanted to say that to make it clear that I won't be taking out paper. It doesn't mean I'm going away, but I will not be wanting to volunteer as much time as I have been on this board ad infinitum into the future. So.
Well, Les, thank you so much for all your service. You've got a tremendous amount of knowledge that we're going to need. The town is going to need it.
Well, I'll be around. I have a phone and email. So.
Well, honestly,
We'll dial you.
Yeah.
honestly, Les, I think we need to give you a special award because just being on this board for less than 2 years, I give you great kudos. It's a lot of work and a lot of commitment. So we do appreciate it.
Thanks.
Well, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, Les,
Fox, aye.
John,
Markowitz, aye.
Wes,
Folks, aye.
and Lapari, aye. Thank you all, everybody. And this was a lot better. This was only 3 hours and 18 minutes. This is good.